and welcome to the Marigold Standard, your weekly audio source of all things Dream Star Fighting Marigold. I'm your host, Rob Goodwin. I'm joined as ever by the Marigold himself. It is Mr. Matt Turner. Matt Turner, you are fresh from New York Comic Con, Lily's first Comic Con, it is worth pointing out. How did she enjoy it, basically?
She had the time of her life, which was pretty much the goal. I mentioned before that I think this was my 11th or 12th Comic-Con, and I've met so many great people. You know, Mark Hamill, the late, great Carrie Fisher, the late, great Stan Lee. My interaction with Paul Rudd a couple years ago was one for the ages. So this Comic-Con was really just about her. I was lucky enough where we did meet Elizabeth Olsen, who plays the Scarlet Witch, and I posted the picture up of the three of us, me, Lily, and Elizabeth Olsen. And I got to meet Kevin Smith, who gave both of us some really good advice, my friend, which I'll get to that in a minute. But to answer your question, no, she had a really, really good time, which, again, that was kind of the main goal. I mentioned, I think last week, either it was Marigold or Stardom Cast, that her big thing was she wanted to meet this famous YouTuber from Ireland that very rarely comes over to the States by the name of Jacksepticeye. I have no idea who this guy is. 30 million viewers, blah, 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 blah. Big deal. Whatever. You know, that's what the kids are into. You know. So I was like, okay, no problem. So I guess he owns a very small basically an independent publishing company called Bad Egg, as the name of his comic book company, that I guess he owns or invests in or whatever. But anywho, long story short, so he was signing autographs on Thursday. Comic-Con was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 4 days. So he was going to be there Thursday and Friday. So he was signing comics at his booth Thursday. So I believe it was 3:30. We went up there at 2:30, got there an hour early, and the line was just all over the place. And I was like, oh, it was on the main floor. If anybody that's been to New York Comic Con before, it was on the main floor of the Javits Center, which once the lines get out of hand, whoever is in charge of that floor will shut it down, because if not, the fire marshal comes in and it's a fire hazard. Rightfully so, I understand. So we're there about a half an hour, and we don't know if this is the official line. We wind up finding out after waiting for half an hour that you need a wristband in order to go to the signing, which was not announced anywhere. Wasn't announced at the table. Wasn't announced on this guy's Twitter. Wasn't announced anywhere on New York Comic Con, because, again, this is my daughter's main thing that she wanted to do. So I did my due diligence, and so did she. Nobody knew about it. So they said, well, we don't have a green wristband. They said, well, you might not be able to get in. Waited about another hour or so, and then the floor manager did come and said, if you do not have a green wristband, you need to get out of the line now, because the fire marshal may shut this down. Okay, no problem. I know how to play by the rules. However, I did go to the person running the booth. They said, I know he's going to be here tomorrow to sign. I'm trying to get my daughter a meet and greet. How do we go about it? And they said, you need to get here first thing in the morning, because only 80 wristbands go out. No problem. All I need to know, we get there an hour before the doors open. Now, as soon as the doors open, I kind of figured that I'm a little more explosive than my daughter, and I kind of have the shoulders for the Micah shoulder tackles. I will be the one to run up 2 flights of steps to get said wristbands. The doors open, and we start booking it, right? All of a sudden, my daughter's running like she was in the 9th grade, and she missed the school bus. I mean, she is. I haven't seen her. I literally texted my wife. I said, you got to see this kid move. I said, this kid's moving like she's running down our block and to catch the bus. So we're running, and there's probably about already 30,000 people in the Javits Center as soon as the doors open. I mean, it's quick, and there's 80 wristbands. So we're booking it. And sure enough, we get there, and there's only about a dozen people at the table, and there's a line of wristbands that are there. So I was like, great, make sure she gets her wristband. They asked me if I want one. It was in a different area because, again, that area was so overcrowded. And I was like, no, because I'm not going to take away a wristband from somebody else that wants to meet this guy. Again, I have no idea who this guy is, right? I'm not going to take away a wristband from somebody that wants to meet him. I said, look, my main thing is I want to make sure my daughter is able to get a picture with this guy. And I said, no problem. We'll be able to take care of it at such and such time. So she did. She did get to meet him on Friday, which was her big thing. She spent a good amount of money, which, again, she saved up all year for. So, yeah, she had an absolute blast. We had a really, really good time. And again, my big meet thing was with Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith is somebody that I've been watching his movies since the 90s, Mallrats, Clerks, Chasing Amy, Dogma, Clerks 2, Clerks 3, which really tugged at my heartstrings. For those of you who haven't seen it, I won't spoil it. But Kevin Smith is he's got this podcasting universe he does great on. And something that he preaches that we've been doing on the Stardom Cast and the Marigold Standard without even realizing that we're doing it is Kevin Smith does not waste any time talking about anything negative. If a movie comes out that they want that somebody wants him to review and he doesn't like it, he's not going to talk about it because he only has a finite amount of time to talk about, the positive stuff. So as you know, Rob, the world can be very negative, especially the genre that we're in, pro wrestling. Nobody hates pro wrestling more than pro wrestling fans.
Pro wrestling fans.
So when I got to Kevin's table, I even told him, I said, Kevin, I've been doing this podcast. We've been doing really well on it the last year or so. We've kind of taken your philosophy where we don't talk about anything negative. And he goes, what genre are you in? I said, pro wrestling. And I said, I don't know if you know, but pro wrestling fans are very much like Star Wars fans. They hate everything. And he's like, no, he's like, you guys are doing, that's great. You guys, and I told him we were on Talk Jericho twice. He said, I was only on it once. So I was like, okay, we have you beat there.
We've outdone him.
Yeah, we've outdone him there. And he's like,
it was our booth at New York Comic Con.
Yeah, really. He's like, that's awesome. He's like, and I'm really glad. He goes, that's what because the world needs more people like you and your podcasting partner to, when you're talking about a medium, to be more positive. And you guys keep it up. Shook my hand. He said, you're doing the Lord's work. Keep it up. Keep presenting positivity in what you love, which is clearly pro wrestling. And again, I know some people will say, well, Matt, that one time you're really negative on the Sai Kamatani turn. And this is my time of the week to say, once again, I was wrong about that. But, as you know, Rob, and our longtime listeners know that 99% of this podcast is really, really positive. And I guess we've kind of taken that off Kevin Smith a little without even knowing that we've done it. But I've been listening to so many of his podcasts over the last handful of years. He was so nice. And yeah, he's like, when you talk to your podcast partner, he asked if you were there. And I was like, no, he's all the way in England. He's like, that's crazy that you guys talk about this thing from Japan. You're over here in Pennsylvania and he's over there in England. He's like, no, he's like, when you talk to him, definitely let him know that you guys are doing the Lord's work and keep being positive because eventually he sees the mediums going that way. I said, I'm not going to text him that. I'm going to tell him on air because I think that makes for good podcasting material. But Comic-Con was great. And I know I led you on the hook for about 2 weeks on the certain surprise that one Andy Header did. And I think that he delivered on that one. For those who haven't seen,
Jeez Louise.
Yeah, Andy Header loves cosplaying at New York Comic-Con. And on the second day, which was pretty much wrestling day over there at the Javits Center, he went as Timeless Tony Storm. And we even got him to cut a promo in complete character because he even said, well, what do you want? And I said, I'm going to ask these 3 questions. You say whatever you want to say. And I was trying not to laugh because he was so funny, especially when he made that one comment that I can't repeat here on air about one Tam Nakano. As soon as we got to hit the record button. As soon as we got hit the record button, he's like, are you going to be able to put that on your YouTube page? And I said, not for nothing. You were in the Tony Storm character. And some of the promo stuff that Tony Storm has said in Stardom when she was over there for about 2 weeks was way worse than what Andy said.
Oh, God, yeah. Absolutely.
He was in great character. I mean, it was fantastic. And it was a very low-key Comic-Con for me. It really, really was. There was only a couple things that, like I said, the Elizabeth Olsen meet and greet, which she was so nice to Lily. The Kevin Smith thing was great, just because I just wanted some advice from him, and he gave me great advice and basically told us, keep doing what we're doing, keep hammering, pounding the pavement, keep putting out material, great material, and keep being positive in a positive way, because that's eventually the way that the medium is going to work. So all in all, it was a really, really great Comic-Con. A big shout outs to my wife, Amber, who booked the hotel and the parking garage. I don't like driving in New York City. Just because
I don't think anyone does.
No, just because it's absolutely insane. In every New York Comic-Con, I always have Header as kind of weaving me through traffic, basically telling me where to go once I get into New York. Andy went down the night before with his girlfriend, and so it was Lily who kind of had to navigate me. But literally, it was as soon as I got off the Lincoln Tunnel, the first 3 lights, it was boom, 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 make a right. And then I think within 40 yards was our hotel right next to the parking garage. I mean, she could not have made it any easier on us. So that was, and again, and another huge shout out to my wife, because as soon as we got out of New York City, Lily text my wife. She said, we'll be home in about an hour. And as soon as I opened up the door, it smelled like my grandmother's kitchen from back in the late 80s, because my grandparents are old school Italian. It was just homemade sauce, garlic, and we had, she literally, as soon as we got home, she made a homemade sauce with homemade manigotti, meatballs, garlic bread, the whole 9. So we ate good. We served it. And then at Monday, as we were recording, that's right. At Monday, as we were recording, I got up, went to the gym. Obviously, I'm off work just to kind of recharge the batteries. And I took the 2 of them out for breakfast. And watch a whole bunch of Stardom stuff, and here we are going to talk about 3 fantastic shows from the Marigold Standard on this new medium that you created, brother. So yeah, that was my weekend. Exciting, great. It was a great time, and back, recharged, ready to rock and roll. How was your weekend, my man? Did you by chance shoulder tackle anybody, or meet any famous YouTubers, or meet any villains from the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Do you know what? As a matter of fact, no, of course didn't, because it's England and nobody ever travels to England. Even the people that live here move, so no, unfortunately not. However, you did mention something there about shoulder tackling someone. I think that the people of the Marigold Standard and the Stardom Cast need to know the story about your daughter basically putting in a challenge for the NXT Women's Championship, which I think was quite an achievement, really, especially as she's a former champion. But there we are.
Yeah, so we walked by the headlock booth. Usually at New York, they have a slew of pro wrestling guests there, and they had Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I think Sergeant Slaughter was there. Mick Foley is always at the headlock booth, so he was there. We're kind of just walking by, see who was there, and kind of see what their prices were. I'm kind of just looking around, and this was on, I believe, Saturday. Yeah, Saturday, which is the busiest day there. I mean, it's just you're literally wall to wall with people. You just have to be patient. You'll be bumping into people. It is what it is. And everybody there is so kind. So kind of just looking around to see what prices they have and seeing what kind of artwork that Michael Kingston, who runs Headlock and the booth, kind of see what he has. And, I'm kind of just looking. And all of a sudden, as I kind of look by me, I see this lady running by me, and she's got somebody else by her. Well, the lady that runs by me almost shoulder tackles me, but the lady behind her literally bumps into my dot. Not hard. We're literally just walking. They literally bump, and it was Mandy Rose bumped into my daughter. Now, my daughter doesn't really know who many wrestlers are, so I'm like, there's no way she even knows who this person is. So we wind up, and the person, I guess, that I almost bumped into was either Mandy's handler or maybe her agent or whatever. It looked like Mandy was going somewhere, either to eat, or my guess would probably be to use the bathroom. That'd be my guess, because she looked like she needed to be somewhere real fast and then come back. So yeah, literally my daughter and Mandy Rose literally just bumped into each other, which I thought was funny. And then I told, we wind up finding the group that I was with a few minutes later, and I told Andy Header, I said, Lily literally bumped into Mandy Rose. And he's like, are you serious? I was like, who is that? I said, that really pretty blonde girl that up there. She's like, oh yeah, that's a wrestler. She's like, oh. And we're like, maybe she could have taken her. So I don't know. Maybe there's a future challenge for Mandy Rose to come out of this little retirement that she is to take on my daughter. So we'll see, my man. We'll see. I'll have to teach her the Fujiwara armbar to take down the leader of Fatal Attraction.
I mean, hell, then NXT Las Vegas needs a main event, so why not be Lily versus Mandy Rose? I know who I'd put my money on, with it being Vegas. But yeah, I mean, this weekend was it was by the by, really. Bought a fireplace. That's about it. Other than that, the ribs are slowly but surely getting better, and I've managed to watch a lot of people on social media be very complimentary about Mina and Azumi's matches in RevPro and in New Japan as well, which I'm gutted that I couldn't make, but there we are. And I'm looking forward to talking about that on the Stardom Cast. Today, though, we are, as you've said, Matt, we are on video. We are sort of live, I guess. We're pre-recorded, but live. Kind of.
VOD. We're VOD, right?
VOD, exactly. We are in the Wrestle Universe archives. Yeah, we've decided that from now on, we're going to do the Marigold Standard of the Stardom Cast video, so you can see our faces as we're talking. Hopefully, this is a thing that will continue now for the entirety of the run of both these podcasts, but I'm sure there will be hiccups along the way, so I apologize for that. But yeah, hopefully this one is the first of many. And we're going to dive straight into these shows as well, because the news that I want to talk about, I want to sort of save for the Stardom Cast, with it being later on this week. But today we're going to be talking about these shows in KBS Hall, the beautiful KBS Hall, Act City Hamamatsu, and the show from Shibuya on the 14th of October as well. And then, of course, we are going to preview that card on Thursday, that Korakuen Hall show on Thursday, because Matt Turner, I genuinely think that this Korakuen Hall show might be Marigold's biggest show since Summer Destiny, and one of the biggest shows that they've ever done, just because Obviously, you have got a red belt defense there. The Crimson Red Belt hasn't been defended yet. You've got all of the titles on the line. You've got debuts. You've got Naho Yamada. You've got Hummingbird. You've got all these little stories in play that are going to have big, big ramifications going forward. It feels like this Korakuen Hall show is very much going to be the start going into first stream in January, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. This is kind of like the next big step. This is kind of seems like everything that they built towards going on in the summer, with just the massive run Bozilla's on, the massive run that Sari's on, not only in Marigold, but what the few matches she was able to have over in Stardom, and what she's been able to do on the independent scene over in Japan and the Sariism show. So you have literally a crescendo between the two. And Sari has not eaten a lot of pinfalls. I think the only two singles losses she's had this year was against Mayu for the IWGP Joshi Championship back at All-Star Grand Queendom, and then Bozilla on the finals of that fantastic show. One of the best shows I've seen all year from any wrestling company, the finals of the Dreamstar Grand Prix. So you do that, and obviously Miko Ano is on, what I'm assuming is going to be the co-main event. Miko Ano's been on an absolute tear. Probably both of our new favorite wrestlers of this year. By new, I mean a wrestler that we have no idea who she was starting in January, and has literally gone to the top of my list and yours as well, partner. It's one of our favorite wrestlers in any wrestling company to watch, and they've done a great job building up Nagisa Nozaki for that match.
Yeah, definitely.
They've done really, they got her hot right at the right time. They got her hot in that the Dreamstar Grand Prix, and she's got a lot of big wins in tag matches leading up. Obviously, she was one of only a few people to defeat the overall winner in the tournament, in Utami Hayashishita. So good job building her up, and they have her right where she wants to be. She's as hot as a heel as you can get right now, and you're challenging one Miko Ano for your secondary belt. And again, in what I'm assuming is the co-main event, the tag team match too has been built up really well. We'll get into it with these three shows we are going to review, because they did a great job building that up. All three of these shows, not only were they quick watches, they were fun watches. They were great watches. I'm glad that these shows weren't marathon shows, because Rob, you know me, I don't take time off. I don't take no days off. Literally every day I came back from New York City for New York Comic Con, after me and Lily went out to get something to eat, I would sat on my bed in the hotel and I watched these shows and I did homework. So there's literally no days off for Matt Turner, and I love every single second of it. I really, really do. And before I forget, we are all about listeners' retention. Since this is our first kind of live show of not like the big pay-per-views that we're doing, I do have watchers retention at the very end of this show. Yes, I'm literally looking at something right over here that I received in the mail the day before I left for New York Comic Con, and I will debut it right here for everybody on the Marigold Standard. But yeah, partner, to go back to your original question, I'm super pumped for this show on Thursday. I believe this is streaming live on Wrestle Universe, and I believe it's with Sonny and Stu on commentary as well. Because I think
English
they do all
commentary.
they do all the Korakuen Hall shows, and they do a great job. And again, they have done a terrific job building up to a lot of these matches. So yeah, super, super excited for it. Something to look forward to before the weekend. I always say Wednesdays is always a great day, because it's like New Comic Book Day and it splits up the week. But now it's like, no, as much as I love New Comic Day, I'm really looking forward to Thursday with this jam-packed show from Marigold. I don't think I'm going to be able to watch it live, just because I will be back at work. But how about you, partner? Are you going to be able to try to sneak this in?
I'm still on a phased return to work, so it does depend. I have got Friday off, so worst comes to worst, and I don't get to see it on Thursday. I get to see it on Friday, so it's not the end of the world. I will endeavor to watch it live. It's a case of work schedule and things like that. But I would argue, as I said, biggest shows in Summer Destiny, and I think that it will be a huge boost in attendance, certainly for Marigold. And I think attendance has been something that has been noted quite a lot online in terms of discourse and things like that. And it's been mentioned again with the three shows that we're going to be talking about on the Fantastic Adventure Tour. But it is worth, comparing certain things when we talk about that, and we will talk about that very shortly. But you're absolutely right. Three very, very svelte shows. I think the longest was an hour 40. You've got one that wasn't even an hour and a half, and then I think the other one was only just over an hour and a half. So really easy shows to get through. You've got some storyline progression. I know that some would see these as, quote unquote house shows. But, you'd got more story going on with now Ishikawa. They've done a really good job of sort of setting this simmering tension between Mirai and Mai Sakurai heading into this Twin Stars Championship match. And that sort of stems from the press conference, which I suppose we should talk a little bit about before we get into the main show reviews. Now, obviously, the big thing to talk about in more ways than one from the press conference is Bozilla deciding that she was going to go aerial and just spear Sari off her chair, which was quite impressive. But something that I did really like was the story going into the Twin Star Championships match. Now, obviously, the Superfly Championship match, we don't have a lot of story outside of Hummingbird is debuting, which is fine. Not every title match can have a story, and I'm absolutely fine with that. But what I do like with the Twin Star Championships is that Yuzuki especially has sort of sown these little bits of doubt, especially with Mai Sakurai, about how Mai and Mirai aren't that close. You come across like you're the best friends in the world, but you're not that close. You're not on the same page like you seem to think you are and all this. And then on the show that we haven't had a chance to review yet from Nagano, which again hasn't aired on Wrestle Universe yet, there's actually a moment where Mirai and Mai Sakurai are teaming with Myla Grace. And Mai Sakurai comes out in a tag team gear, and Mirai doesn't. She comes out in a singles gear. And even though they win, and even though it's seemingly just a throwaway thing, you can see that Mai Sakurai's like, why did you not come out in your tag gear? I came out in the tag gear. Why didn't you? And there's just a little bit of falling out. And I think what could have been a rudimentary title defense, I still think Mirai Saku will retain. But you've added a wrinkle to that story. And I think that's really, really exciting. And then, of course, you've got Mirai especially, who was a bit of a savage, literally going at Kazuna Tanaka saying the only reason you're here is because of who your mum and dad are. And that riled up Kazuna Tanaka. Kazuna Tanaka, who is, the cutest, most adorable thing in the world. And then you just see her get really, really, really enraged. And I'm really excited to see how that translates in the championship match, because I think they've done a tremendous job building that. And then through these shows, they've done a good job of building, especially Yuzuki, in that sort of area with the champions. What about you? What did you think?
Yeah, I'm willing to bet that in this match coming up on Thursday in Korakuen Hall, there's going to be a mishap between Mirai and Mai Sakurai.
Yeah.
Maybe we've seen them. They do a really cool as they're building up towards their tag finish, or a singles finish, that they do like a sandwich running Yakuza kick lariat. I have a feeling that somebody's going to miss something and Mirai is going to accidentally hit Sakurai, or vice versa. I think you're going to see that, and you're going to maybe, especially the fact that you do have Victoria Yuzuki does do the rolling arrow, which basically can pin anybody. I would not be shocked if you see that Mirai accidentally hit Sakurai or vice versa. And then you have Kazuna Tanaka take out whoever the non-legal person is, and then Yuzuki use the rolling arrow, for a 2.999 count to bite on a falsie. I think we're going to see that and be like, we almost lost because of you, where they're kind of going back and forth. I think they are going to retain. I think the eventual tag champs are probably going to eventually be Koki Amare and Chikagoto when the time's right. But you're already setting that story that once they lose the tag belts, again, whether it's this week or whether it's on Thursday, which I don't think it's going to be, or a month from now, and then what you're going to do is then you're going to split them apart, and then you can have a Sakurai versus Mirai kind of feud, which you don't need a championship for. You don't, because Mai Sakurai, again, is somebody, in my opinion, the most improved wrestler in all of wrestling in 2024. Again, she made it to the, she won the star block for the Dream Star Grand Prix, made it to the finals against Utami Hayashishita. And Mirai she's another one. She's probably, again, the number 2 in that company behind Utami Hayashishita. Yeah. But again, Sakurai's right there. We have Utami's number 1, and Mirai and Mai Sakurai are probably, right here neck and neck. So you can have a program with the two of them coming off as if this is where they're going, because they're planting the seeds. If they're going to split, whether it's a month from now, 2 months from now, 3 months from now, and again, you're starting to build your cards up toward that first Dream Show in January. Why not have it? Looks like we're going to have Utami and Sari. Why not have a Mirai versus Mai Sakurai match there, especially with the proper build? And so that's a possibility there. That's a possibility where I think they're going. But yeah, we'll get into it when we get into the preview of this massive show in Korakuen Hall. And you're absolutely right that it's probably their most important show since Summer Destiny. Not only that, this is probably one of the biggest Korakuen Hall shows from any wrestling company in quite some time. It really, really, this is a really important show for them because you have all these storylines that are building, and plus you're trying to see Sari and Bozilla, how much tickets can we draw off that. Bozilla is very much your Stan Hansen, your Bruiser Brody. She's the person that is a heel, but is kind of over a little bit as a baby face because people like her. And then Sari's kind of like your Masaru Misawa, like just the ace, the icon, like putting on match after year after year after year. So this is kind of like Stan Hansen versus Misawa in kind of a way, the way that I'm looking at it in Korakuen Hall. So yeah, I'm super excited for it. And again, the fact that we always say on the Stardom Cast, Korakuen Hall needs something special. They have not had a Wonder or World of Stardom championship match in that building for a few years. And maybe it's the fact that because Stardom, because of their growth over the last 3 years, where they want to put it on their shows where they know they can get maybe, around 2,000 people. Maybe that's the reason why. But regardless, Marigold, we're getting it. We're getting not only just a red belt match, but a white belt match. And again, a tag team match that's really starting to simmer and boil up. So I'm super excited for that. I like Mirai, how she is kind of calling out Kazuna Tanaka, saying that you're only here because of your parents, which is you're going to do that to get heat, right? Now you're going to see Kazuna Tanaka and Mirai. And that's another way you can kind of go off into singles. There's a lot of irons in the fire for Mirai coming off this match, whether it's going to be, again, going back to the Tokyo Towers, whether it's going to be the Twin Towers, or whether it's going to be her and something with Mai Sakurai. I would love to see a little bit of a singles program with Mirai and Kazuna Tanaka, because that'd be hard-hitting, really good submission exchanges between these two great wrestlers. So yeah, a lot of really cool things that they're slowly building up that I don't know where they're going, but I'm definitely along for the ride.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's an interesting one. Obviously, again, we'll get into a little bit more detail a little bit later on when we go into our preview for the show. It's interesting to think if they are building a sort of a simmering tension between the champions, who you think are going to take the belts off them. Because don't forget, obviously, the last title defense in Korakuen Hall was against the Twin Towers. So, do you immediately put them back into the feud, into that title picture? Or do you, put together a Natsumi Shozuki and a Mika Wano? Or do you have Nanae Takahashi teaming with someone? Because you don't have established tag teams at the moment, with the exception of Mirai Saku, Twin Towers, and you've got Chihaki and Nagisa Nozaki. I think they will probably be the next challengers. I'd be surprised if they're not. But obviously, Nagisa Nozaki maybe will have come out of this Korakuen with the white belt. She won't have done. But she might do. So it depends. I'm intrigued to know where they're going. I do agree that the Twin Towers will be tag champs at some point, or twin champs at some point. Whether they will run it back as soon as January, I don't know. Would I be disappointed in that? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. However, let's talk a little bit about some of these shows. And we start with the fantastic Adventure Tour in KBS Hall, Night 3, Saturday, the 12th of October, 2024. There was 235 people reportedly in attendance. This is the second time Marigold have run in KBS Hall. 235, the reported attendance, is down 34% from the 357 at their show in June. If you remember way back then, it was when they started the Marigold Superfly Championship tournament. So a bit of a drop here, but still a healthy enough number, I would have thought. The results for that show then are as follows. Myla Grace defeating Kamoma Minami with the debut of the Sky Twister Press in 5 minutes and 29 seconds, which was nice to see. Mika Wano then defeated Rhea Saito with the buzzsaw kick in 8 minutes and 48 seconds. Third singles match, Victoria Yuzuki defeated Chiaki with the Yuzu Crush in 6 minutes and 19 seconds. Utami Hayashishita then defeated Nao Ishikawa with a German suplex in 6 minutes and 10 seconds. We've talked about them already. The tag team match, the Twin Towers of Koki Amare and Chika Goto defeated the team of Kazuna Tanaka and Nanae Takahashi. Koki Amare pinning Kazuna Tanaka with the Amethyst Butterfly in 12 minutes and 5 seconds. And then in your main event, a tag match, Mirai and Mai Sakurai defeating Natsumi Shozuki and Misa Matsui. Mai Sakurai submitting Matsui with the STF in 17 minutes and 51 seconds. Matt, just before I throw to you, it is worth noting that it was reported that Bozilla wouldn't be present on the Sunday card or the Saturday card, so she won't be present in KBS Hall or at City Hamamatsu due to a high fever. It's the first show that she's actually missed since she's been a part of Marigold. However, she is back for the Monday Shibuya show. That absence from these two shows did necessitate some card changes, with the KBS Hall main event changing to Mirai and Mai Sakurai versus Natsumi Shozuki and Misa Matsui, and then the aforementioned singles match as well, Victoria Yuzuki and Chiaki in singles action. But Matt, before we go into individual matches, what were your thoughts on this card as a whole?
I thought it was a really great card, especially the last two matches. That tag match, I think as soon as I watched the tag match, the main event, I literally tweeted out, I was like, there's nobody that is touching Joshi when it comes to tag matches. We mention all the time on the Stardom cast. It's like we joked for the longest time saying it's another week, it's another Stardom tag match of the year. Obviously, what we've been seeing on the Saryism shows, you have to add that in. What we've been seeing lately in Sendai Girls, all of a sudden they want to become like the promotion of the year. You throw that in, and then you throw this one in, and you're like, boy, howdy, like nobody's doing tag wrestling like the Joshi, especially in that main event, which we'll get into. But I do want to make mention on Myla Grace, because again, not only does she debut a new move here, we mention it every week, and we're going to mention it. I'm going to mention it again. She gets better each and every outing. And now that she, as you called it, she pokey evolves, has a completely different look, like the new outfit, which is really great, because in the Joshi companies that obviously we watch everything Marigold, we watch everything Stardom, we watch a little bit of Sendai Girls, and I'm trying to get into a little bit of Tokyo Joshi Pro. Unfortunately, there's only 24 hours in a day. In those four big wrestling companies that I watch, well, again, Marigold and Stardom, there's really no wrestler that they push that English is their number one language. Like there's no, obviously we know Waka, Mina, Momokogo, they speak English, but I'm like, where it's their number one language. And obviously everybody wants to break into the English market, because that's where your biggest wrestling companies of all time are: WWF, WWE, AEW, WCW back in the day, ECW, so on and so forth. So it's like, we mention all the time, like, who's going to step up in Marigold? Because you have Utami, you have Mirai, you have Mai Sakurai, obviously you have Miko Ano, because she's the pure white belt champion. But who kind of like from the middle of the card is going to be ready to be pushed to that next level? And after watching these three shows, I'm going to make my point and throw it to you. I think Myla Grace is just about there, because she's kind of somebody, again, English is her number one language. She's able to connect with the Japanese speaking crowd. She's better each and every outing. She's somebody that's kind of flown under the radar, because again, we talk about the Koki Amares, the Chika Gotos, they're all right there as well. But I think pushing Myla Grace probably sometime by the end of this year, beginning of next year, wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. And you can see how hard she's working. Again, new outfit, new finisher, more intensity, is able to kind of, again, react to what the crowd is doing, better crowd psychology. Do you think that, again, because Myla Grace is somebody different in the Joshi wrestling scene, as we're getting to the end of 2024, I think Myla Grace, them pushing her, Marigold pushing her in the next month or two or three, I think to be, again, something different. And I think she's somebody that really earned her spot. Can you imagine what a Myla Grace versus Miko Ano, what pure white belt match would look like in 3 or 4 months, especially now that we're getting more steam behind Myla Grace? But anyway, let's say who you partnered. Do you see what I'm seeing in one Myla Grace between the improvement and now the new look? Do you think that's somebody that I think that they should really try to maybe put a focus on pushing at the end of this year, beginning of next year?
I think it would happen towards the start of the year next year. I think she had the improvement is there for everyone to see. I think the improvement speaks for itself, not only through, the way that she's structuring matches and leading matches, but also the the ever-developing arsenal. We're going to talk about the Sky Twister press, of course, which credit to her as well. She almost fell off the top rope and still managed to nail it, which is credit where credit's due. That was fairly bloody impressive. But it's the fact for me that during those first few months, she understandably looked a little bit like a deer in the headlights. And I don't mean that in the fact that she's a bad wrestler by any stretch of the imagination. I mean the fact that I think the language barrier and the change in style and things, were a challenge, as they would be. Every person who goes to Japan experiences that. And the work that she's done to not only be someone who has obviously developed, but someone who is connecting with an audience, as you mentioned, and is able to put on these good matches on the undercard as well, and someone who's becoming very reliable on the undercard, I think is great. As for someone who can speak English, I think you run the risk, because obviously Myla Grace is not a full-time member of Marigold. There will be a time when her tour is over. I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe it's a year-long contract, the same as Bozilla. So if that's the case, she's going to leave. Now, if you are going to invest in an English-speaking talent, to get to those Western fans, I feel like you do need a Mina Shirakawa or a Waka Tsukiyama or a Momokogo who is available, show in, show out, and you haven't got that concern of going away to another country. In respect to your white belt option, it's an interesting one, because we've seen in Stardom that white belt being used to elevate certain talent, certainly. And certainly in the older days of Stardom, you had, we've had Natsu Sumire, for example, challenging Momo Watanabe, and that's not necessarily the blockbuster match that you associate with the white belt. However, Natsu Sumire felt bigger because of being in that position. Giving Myla Grace that opportunity and putting her in the ring with Amiku Ano, I think, would be huge for her. It would also be a really good way of seeing, right, okay, so you've been on the undercard, you had your first main event in Marigold, in Nagano on Monday. Let's see how you do in this area. And, she's developed, she's improved. Let's see how much she's improved and developed in this high-pressure situation. And I think, like so many others, she will float. In the case of sink or swim, I think she will absolutely swim. And Miku Ano is another one who has proved that she is so capable of leading compelling matches, as we saw throughout the Dream Star. And I think giving people opportunities is part of what Rossy Ogawa does. So does Myla Grace win the championship? No, absolutely not.
No.
Does she have a championship match? I can't see what harm that does at all. What's interesting is, with all other title belts, the Superfly Championship, I think we all sort of think that it's going to end up on Misa Matsui at some point. With the Twin Star Championships, we all sort of assume that they're going to end up on the Twin Towers at some point. And with the Red Belt, we all sort of assume that it is going to end up on Utami at First Stream. But with the White Belt, it's not so cut and dried. You could argue that Mirai, certainly, but who else? There is a little bit of unknown there, and I think that makes that compelling. In terms of this match, I think both women did very, very well. I was really impressed, actually, with Komomo Minami throughout these three shows. I think her development has accelerated in the last couple of weeks, and she was really, really smooth in this and in the match with Chiaki as well in Act City. But here, again, brand new level of innovation, that Into Oblivion style DDT that she did and she brought into her offense. And then obviously we talked about Myla Grace's brand new costume, her brand new Sky Twister press, which very, very good. Hopefully she keeps that in her arsenal. But again, even more props. A lot of props go to her for even attempting a move like that, because it's insane. But to almost lose her footing and still have the composure to hit it, yeah, fair play. Really, really good. What did you think, Matt?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It was just I just noticed Miley Grace with her new look and just upping the confidence. I think that's somebody that they can get behind and push. And you're right, her contract, from what we understand, is, and again, we could be wrong, could only be a year. But at the same time, why not extend it? I mean, if she wants to stay and they're doing great things with her and she's drawing eyes to the product, why not extend it? I mean, it's not one of these things where it's like only have a year and then you're going. So who knows? Maybe that option is there. Again, we don't know. But yeah, I really enjoyed this match. I thought this was a great opener, really great way to start this weekend of shows. 3.5 stars for me. Yeah, I mentioned how big of a fan I am, Miley Grace, but obviously Kimomo Manami as well. I'm a big fan of just how she's able to use her grappling to go into those arm bars. I'm a big fan of the submission style of wrestling. One done right, considering the fact that she's only wrestling a handful of months, it really already understands how to work that into her arsenal. Really, really good stuff. Yeah, solid match, 3.5 stars.
I think as well, you could see the intensity in Kimomo Minami, which is arguably one of the things that she was missing. And that, for me, was really evident in these three matches, as she's, one of the only people left on the Marigold roster who's wrestling full time, obviously, that is without a singles victory. And you could see that was really, sort of powering her, especially in these three singles matches. Yeah, a really good opener from these two. We move on then to Miko Ano and Rhea Sato. Rhea Sato's an interesting one because there's some really, really good work from her on Miko Ano's arm. And, there's a beautiful brief opening grappling exchange, locking in the cattle mutilation. But there's also moments of sloppiness, but she recovers well from it. And I think obviously she is still very young into her career. And I think it's interesting that she doesn't panic if there is, because there was a moment where I think there was something went wrong with a pinfall, and I think something went wrong with a body slam. But she doesn't panic. She doesn't make it obvious that something's gone wrong, and she's quickly able to get back into step. Now, credit obviously goes to Miko Ano as well for that. But how important is it early on in your career if you make a mistake, as I'm sure you did? How important is it to sort of, right, I need to compartmentalize. Yes, that went wrong, but I go straight away and I just carry on with the match. Carry on with the match. Don't focus on it, because that's something that genuinely I was actually really impressed with Rhea Sato.
And again, partners, I'm very fortunate that in my independent wrestling career, I was able to pick the brains and sit in a learning tree of some of the smartest people, past, present, and future in pro wrestling. And during my time in Ring of Honor, Jim Cornette was there quite a bit. And Jim Cornette would always say, especially to the younger talent, which obviously I was because that's where my wrestling school was, saying if you mess up a spot, the fans in the audience don't know what the spot was that you messed up. Don't have the deer in the headlights. Don't give away the poker face saying, oh, I messed it up. They don't know that you messed up that spot. The only people that know that mess up the spot will be you, your partner, or anybody else in the match, maybe anybody else that helped you put together the match. Keep going, or hide it, cover it, do something like that. So that was always the one thing that always stuck with me, and that I always teach to younger talent. Like, if you mess something up, you're going to mess up, and that's fine. That's all part of not just wrestling life. We mess up all the time. That's just life. But don't show your hand. Again, don't have that deer in the headlight look like, oh man, I messed up a spot. Be able to cover. And if you can't cover it because you're a young wrestler like Rhea Sato is, Miko Ano is obviously an established wrestler. And again, one of the best wrestlers in this company. How she's going to be able to do better is by getting reps, more reps, not only in the training center, but in the ring, live action with great wrestlers like Miko Ano is. That's what this match was. Again, you're absolutely right. She did some great stuff. There was some stuff she went maybe a tad too fast, and it kind of threw a couple things off. Miko Ano was able to be there to be able to cover it. And that's just a sign of a great pro that Miko Ano is, and was able to lead that match, which obviously we know that when these two wrestlers came out, you're like, okay, that Miko Ano's leading this match for a few different reasons, and rightfully so. Again, anything that she was able to kind of, yeah, you're right. There wasn't 100%, clean looking, and it's not going to be. It's going to take time, but she's in the ring by somebody that's going to make it look as best as possible. And you're absolutely right. She did a great job not showing that deer in the headlight look. Like, oh no, what did I do? I just messed up. It's like, no, keep going and let Miko Ano be able to your vet be able to get you to the finish line, first of all, in a safe fashion, and two, to make the most sense where it's going to look the best. So all in all, I thought this was another really solid match. This is another match I had 3.5 stars. And again, Rhea Sato, she's somebody. And I like the booking of this match because you're taking probably in kayfabe, your number 2 wrestler. Miko Ano is your pure white belt champion, putting them in the ring with a rookie. So, and how's that rookie going to get better? By wrestling the best wrestlers in your company. And I like that we're seeing that, on these quote unquote Wrestle Universe shows on the Fantastic Adventure or Fantastic Voyage, as I'm calling this tour. Again, great. And I'd like to see this continue to happen. I like to see the Kazuna Tanaka, as we just mentioned, Kazuna Tanaka going to a little program with Mirai because that's how she's going to get better. Victoria Yuzuki, even though she's, a little over a rookie, she's still very young in the business. I would love to see her have her singles matches against Mai Sakurai, against Rutami, against Asari, because that's the only way that you're going to get better is by, again, another person that I was able to kind of pick the brain from, Ricky Steamboat, always said, in order for you to get better, you need to be wrestling people better than you. And that's what Marigold clearly has. They have their rookies, your young talents, and you have your established vets that are drawing you money, that understand the tricks of the trade. So, and that's exactly what this match was. And hopefully that's what Marigold continues to do, again, on these quote-unquote Wrestle Universe shows, is you have your younger talent putting up against your main eventers. But ultimately, though, great job, great effort put on by both these ladies. Once again, I had this match at 3.5 stars for me.
Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I've just got to try and wade through all of these names that Matt was dropping there throughout.
Watch your toes. Watch your toes, folks. Watch your toes. I'm just giving context. The reason why I do this is not to pat myself on the back, right? It's to literally give context. Like when I say something, it's like, why did Matt even say that? It's because I'm very fortunate to learn pro wrestling from, again, the past, present, and future people that have a track record of knowing what pro wrestling is. That's why whenever I drop those names, again, it's not to pat myself on the back, but to give some context on what I'm saying, because if it makes sense to me, hopefully it makes sense to you.
Moving on then, another singles match, Yuzuki versus Chiaki. I could watch Yuzuki wrestle literally all day. Obviously, she needs to build momentum heading into this Twin Star Championships match, but I do love the fact that Chiaki has absolutely no intention of allowing this and repeatedly stymies her momentum by just with this like calm and collected assault on Yuzuki's back. And eventually, obviously, you've got Yuzuki fighting through and showing that fighting spirit that I think we knew she was going to do. But especially on this undercard, Chiaki is low-key doing some really, really good work as the lower card sort of heel foe for the baby faces to overcome. We saw it with, obviously, Kazuna Tanaka. We've seen it with Victoria Yuzuki. I think that lower card heel foil at the moment is the perfect card placement for the Dark Wolf, Matt.
Yeah, and I made mention on the last handful of episodes with Chiaki, and I'm a big fan of her. But the fact that like when she cheats or she breaks the rules, she does a C- job at best hiding it from the ref. Literally the point that's like you're going to eventually, when you keep doing that, you're going to put the heat on the ref and not you. Again, I always make the sports reference is that if you commit a foul, whether it's American football, whether it's European football, whether it's basketball, baseball, if you commit a foul in front of the referee, you're not really that mad at the person that did it. You're mad at the referee. And again, the referee's not selling T-shirts, not selling tickets, not selling pay-per-views. So you don't want to do that. But Chiaki, this entire tour, not only did she do a great job when she was bending the rules, distracting the referee, Chiaki just done a great job utilizing one move. Well, more than one move, but the move I want to get to is the headlock. She has done a great job. And then Sonny and Stu made mention on one of the Korakuen Hall shows that she watches a lot of wrestling, especially old-time wrestling. That's why we see a lot of the Von Erich claw. But she's using the headlock that you would see like in the 60s and the 70s. They would see like the Stomper or something like that, or like the Destroyer, like just utilizing the headlock. And in one of the shows, I think it was the Saturday show, that she goes for like a test of strength in the beginning of the match and stomps on her opponent's foot. And the opponent sells down in order for Chiaki to grab a headlock. And I'm like, oh, that is so good, because technically it's not cheating, but at the same time, it's not fighting fair. So I really, really like that. And again, she's understanding her heel persona, and she's really getting into it. I wish she would have used the claw again more. Again, a massive Von Erich fan. But regardless, I like how she's starting to progress herself as this, again, as you said, probably middle of the card heel. And this match was just a great babyface versus heel match with eventually Victoria Yuzuki doing a great job selling, putting over Chiaki's offense, ultimately just for Victoria Yuzuki to be able to get the big clean win, because you're absolutely right. We need to build her up toward that big match we're having in Korakuen Hall this Thursday. Ultimately, a great match. Again, 3 matches, to start these shows out. And 3 matches, I had 3.5 stars. Thoroughly enjoyed it. And what I liked about these first 3 matches, they didn't wear out their welcome. They both were sub 10 minutes. They told the story. They need to do what it needed to do. They didn't get like the crowd tiresome. They both ended where they needed to end it, which was a really great job on whoever put these matches together.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we mentioned at the start the fact that these shows are all sub 2 hours, and substantially in the second show's case. And I'm glad to see that, even though you could have argued that, right, we've lost Bozilla for these first 2 shows, maybe we need to add some more minutes onto a couple of these matches, and they didn't do that. And I think the matches, as you said, benefited from that. I think there was only really 2 matches that went a long time, and they were both fantastic matches. So moving on, then we move on to the 4th and final singles match from KBS Hall, which was Utami versus Nao Ishikawa. Matt Turner, if I had an MVP of these 3 shows, it would be Nao Ishikawa, and it started with this match with Utami, and goodness gracious me, looking in, for those that don't watch Marigold on a regular basis, you could be looking at this and going, why is Utami in this sort of throwaway singles match against Nao Ishikawa? She's just won the Dream Star. She's going into first stream at Ota Ward City Gym to face the red belt champion. Why on earth is she wasting her time on the lower card facing Nao Ishikawa, who's yet to pick up a singles victory? And that's the thing. Nao Ishikawa felt so big in this match and actually benefited massively from being in the ring with Utami. Like, the fact that she was, to start with, so hopelessly outpowered and outthought by Utami, who's clearly a step above her, and then she rallies and runs through these series of offensive moves, and Utami is selling them. So she gave Nao so much in this match, and that slap that she hits Utami with, and the fact that that angers Utami, who then absolutely levels her with that forearm. I really enjoyed the build of this match, because Nao feels bigger for having been in the ring with Utami. No one thought that Nao was beating Utami. However, whilst Utami waits for that inevitable match with who we think is going to be Sari, she can do some real good with other people on the roster. Just like we've complimented Nanae Takahashi for injecting that passion into other wrestlers on the Marigold roster, Utami does a wonderful job of elevating Nao Ishikawa. And this was something that carried on between this show, the Act City show, and the Shibuya show as well, Matt.
Yeah, like I just mentioned a few minutes ago at Rhea Sato versus Miko Ano, you're taking, basically, middle card wrestling, you're putting up in the ring with the big star. How are they going to get better? And obviously now Ishikawa has way more experience than Rhea Sato, but you understand it's still kind of the same gist. You're taking Nao Ishikawa, and you're right, she hasn't had a singles win yet, but she's fantastic in the ring. And we talk about how great of a wrestler she is and how she's always able to get the crowd behind her, because they want her to see getting that first win, because they can relate, somebody that she's fighting from underneath. She's fighting from underneath in a lot of these matches, especially in Korakuen Hall. She's over massively in Korakuen Hall, which, again, considering the fact that she does not have an actual singles win and the start of Marigold, but is over in a place like Korakuen Hall, just goes to show you what a great talent that she is, and she understands crowd psychology. And again, it's Utami Hayashishita, arguably one of the best wrestlers in the world, regardless of gender, regardless of what promotion she's wrestling for. And we made mention of this quite a bit during her time in Stardom, especially at the end, where she was putting people over left and right. It was like she does a great job elevating talent that's not on her level, which, again, there's maybe a dozen wrestlers in the entire world that are on Utami's level, because she's just so good. But she does a great job pulling every wrestler up, which is the sign of a pro's pro. Only so many people can do it, and do it at the level that Utami does. Utami Hayashishita is a special, special talent for many, many reasons. And that, again, this is one. She makes Nao now Ishikawa be like, oh my goodness, there's points in this match where she's going toe to toe with the Dream Star winner. She's going to toe to toe with, in my opinion, probably yours as well, the ace of this company, and is almost able to defeat her. And considering the fact that you're absolutely right. You look at this on paper, Tommy Hayes just won the big tournament. More than likely, after we, a week after we sing Jingle Bells, she's going to be winning the red belt again, that match with Sari. So I'm a huge anytime I can mention Christmas, buddy. I love Christmas. My favorite time of the year. Anywho,
Sure.
but again, she is going up against somebody that's never won a match before, but you believe that now can win for really two main reasons. One, Now's fire, her fighting spirit, and the fact that Utami makes you believe. Very much like how all the little kids should be believing. There it is, full circles. But ultimately, yeah, a really great match. This was a terrific way to kind of go into these two fantastic final two matches. 3 3/4 stars for me. A terrific outing from just two fantastic wrestlers.
Yeah, and actually, the story isn't even about Utami, is it? It's all about Now Ishikawa, and we've been so programmed. The entire story at the moment is that Now and Nanae are going to have a singles match at Korakuen because Now keeps losing. Because she lacks that passion. We're so programmed to seeing Now Ishikawa lose that maybe some of the crowd need reminding of just how good a wrestler she is. And the fact that now Ishikawa is so determined to prove herself to Nanae that she goes and seeks out the best wrestler in Marigold to have this first singles match with speaks volumes of her confidence in herself. And yes, she lost. And yes, we knew she would do. And yes, it was sub 10 minutes. But the fact that she was standing toe to toe, refusing to back down, and Utami didn't just wipe the floor with her, I think that speaks a lot to Nao's potential. And she has got buckets and buckets of potential, and that's something that I'm really excited to explore later on. Moving on to your semi-main event, speaking of Nanae Takahashi, the Twin Towers defeating Nanae and Kazuna Tanaka. We had the return of Go Chica. The chant is back, Matt Turner, and I could feel your joy.
Rob, I'm looking at this picture here, and did they take this picture after Chica Goto wrestled Mirai? Because it looks like she's chopped. It looks like she's chopped to bits here, but yeah, this was great. There was a really good exchange to start with Kazuna Tanaka and Chica Goto. They had a really good way to start. Some great back and forth, some great striking. Obviously, you could tell that Nanae Takahashi put this match together, and rightfully so. She probably has, if you were to combine the experience between the other three wrestlers and times it by 3, probably still not as much as one Nanae Takahashi. So you can tell she was the one leading the charge, but ultimately this match is to build back up Koki Amari and Chica Goto, right? That's basically what it is. But considering the fact that Nanae Takahashi and Kazuna Tanaka, to my knowledge, they really don't team up that much, but they gelled really well together, which is, again, goes to show you what a great pro and a great wrestler that the legend that Nanae Takahashi is. And they made Kazuna Tanaka look really good, especially in those final exchanges with Koki Amari. Because you're kind of like, man, I would love to see these two wrestle for 13, 14 minutes because their exchanges at the end were really good. Ultimately, it's just the teamwork that is Koki Amare and Chica Goto. Again, I think they are the future of this tag division. I can see them on a massive run sometime in 2025. 8-month, 10-month, 12-month run. I could see them really main eventing Korakuen Hall in front of 800-900 people. I can really see these two being a draw as Twin Star Tag Team Champions sometime in the very, very near future. Because Koki Amari, I mean, she's right there. Her presence, everything that she does, again, new look, the fact that she was one win away of winning her block in the Dream Star Grand Prix just goes to show you how much they have invested in her. And Chica Goto's not too far behind. Again, she's over with the chant. She's excellent in the ring, constantly improving. And again, once again, the only way that she's going to get better is by wrestling vets like she does in this match with Nanae Takahashi in it. But they did a great job really building up Kazuna Tanaka. Even though she eats the L here, it just makes the Tokyo Towers look even better because you're building up Kazuna Tanaka only for her to get beat. Because if she gets squashed in the match, and I can do this now because now it's a video podcast, if she's here and she gets beat, well, who did you beat? But if she's here, as you build her up in the match, she's here and you build her, and then you beat, then you actually beat somebody, which is great psychology. And again, obviously, we're heating up Kazuna Tanaka, even in a loss, because again, she's in a championship match coming up in Korakuen Hall on Thursday. Great job, great way of building this match. Again, Nanae Takahashi plays her role absolutely perfect. I had this match at 4 stars. Again, another Joshi tag match, another fantastic Joshi tag match that we have in the catalog of great tag matches for this entire year of wrestling in 2024. Yeah, really, really great stuff from all 4 wrestlers, and a great job getting Koki Amare and Chika Goto back on the winning track, because I have a feeling that either at First Dream or not too far after that, they're going to be winning the Twin Star Tag Team Championship.
I think what I liked about this match is the way that, yes, Nanae is without doubt the strongest person in this match. And both Chika Goto and Koki Amare were desperate to test themselves against Nanae. And it was almost like Azuna Tanaka was an inconvenience for them. Completely isolated her. And it was only when Nanae came in that you could see Koki Amare especially seemed to fly out of the traps, and Nanae desperate to prove herself. Because what do you do when you are looking to be at the top of the company and looking to progress? You are looking to take out the biggest dog in the yard. And by, looking at it in terms of, historical context, Nanae is by far the biggest dog in this yard. Overall, I thought the fact that it was the tag team chemistry between the Twin Towers that ultimately led them to win out. I thought everyone looked good in this match. I thought Nanae looked great, as she always does. Kazuna Tanaka's fire is always a delight to watch. I think Chika Goto excels in these tag team settings, and I think she excels with Koki Amare. Koki Amare is a star. She really, really is. She's got the look, she's got the poise, she's got the confidence, she's got the banger of a theme. One of the best in Marigold, short of Natsumi Shozuki's.
And the baseball jersey. She's got a really good baseball jersey.
She has got a really good baseball jersey.
Do you notice Chika Goto's out of all the wrestlers on this tour that really, really exceeded her baseball jersey, like really try to push her baseball jersey, Chika Goto was the MVP when it comes to baseball jersey, because she was all about pushing. That's sales, folks. That's marketing. So way to go, go Chika.
Absolutely. I reckon that's enough. What was that, 12? I reckon that's enough mentions of the baseball jersey for 1 minute. But yeah, I feel like Koki Amare, the development in ring, this dream star was a huge, huge sort of momentum shift for her. And you can just feel it in ring. She feels like a future star in this company, more so, I believe, than Chika Goto. But Chika Goto is getting there. Certainly, she's over with the crowd. But Koki is the star of this tag team, and I'm really, really, really excited to see where her ceiling is when it comes to Marigold. I really am, because continuing at this pace, continuing with this development, I don't see any reason at all why Koki Amare can't be a future Marigold World Champion. Because you can see her, we talk all the time about aura, we talk all the time about confidence. And I unashamedly remember when Utami Hayashishita took the red belt off Mayu Iwatani in 2020. And I was like, oh, is Utami ready? And again, you mentioned earlier about Saya Kamatani and you being wrong about the heel turn. Boy, howdy, was I wrong. The moment Utami came out in that first title defense against Momo Watanabe, the robe, the belt, the rose, I was like, oh my God, talk about aura. And I'm not saying that Koki Amare has that level of aura yet, but she has that something. She has that intangible that we talk about all the time. And if she can put this all together in the next 12, 18 months, I see no reason whatsoever that she can't be at the top of this company. She has got that much potential in my eyes.
But you're right. She feels like 2019 Utami Hayashishita, and that's a major compliment. She really does. She does feel like 2019 Utami Hayashishita, like right now. Well, again, that's a major, major compliment. But yeah, you're absolutely right, buddy. You're absolutely right. Good point.
I don't think she's quite at the level in ring with 2019 Utami, but I completely agree with you in terms of stand. Yeah, completely agree with you. Completely agree with you. Moving on then to your main event, Mirai Saku defeating Natsumi Shozuki and Misa Matsui. I thoroughly enjoyed this match, Matt. I thought it was quite interesting that despite the simmering tension between Natsumi Shozuki and Misa Matsui, stemming from obviously all the stuff to do with the Superfly Championship, that it was actually Natsumi Shozuki who dominated the opening portions of this match, really savagely attacking Mirai. But, After that, it becomes very much a case of whenever Misa Matsui is in the ring, she gets overpowered by Mirai and Mai Sakurai, and it takes Natsumi Shozuki coming into the ring to sort of revert the tide. And then, it continues like that. It continues like that until Natsumi Shozuki can't save Misa Matsui, and that leads to the finish. And I really liked the story that they were telling, that Misa Matsui still isn't quite there, and it's taking Natsumi Shozuki, this person whose title Misa Matsui is desperate to take as she continues this rebuild project. It's almost an insult to her, and we can see at the end she actually makes an official challenge for that title belt. She wants another go at it. I really enjoyed that sort of that bubbling tension between those two. And then obviously Mirai and Mai Sakurai are fantastic anyway, Matt.
If you look at this, like as far as strategy goes, right? Obviously, Mirai and Mai Sakurai, they're the best tag team in this company. There's a reason why they're the champions. So how are you having Natsumi Shozuki and Misa Matsui kind of try to combat that? Because they're not a regular tag team. In fact, that they're rivals. Well, they use their high speed for the advantage right off the bat. It's almost like a perfect coach's game plan. Like, we can't go toe to toe with them because they're obviously the champions. Where are our strengths compared to them? The higher pace off, and like literally as soon as the bell rings, as soon as the game starts, you're applying that boom, boom, boom. You see the double teams from the two, the two speedsters here, and Misa and Natsumi. And I really like that psychology, because absolutely, like, why would they try to go toe to toe with Mirai and Mai Sakurai? Again, they're the best tag team in Marigold. They're the reason why they're wearing the belt. So I like that strategy, how early on they're just basically, again, using the high-speed style wrestling to take over on Mirai. And then once Mai Sakurai kind of comes in, slows it down a little, and then we see the tag team wrestling from Mirai and Mai Sakurai. I really, really enjoyed that part. And then I love how Mirai's really getting ahead of steam. When she comes back in the ring, boom, 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 bump, 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 feed. And eventually, though, she goes a little bit too fast, as we see some great counter wrestling from Natsumi Shozuki, is able to slow down Mirai and putting her in the Fujiwara armbar, which I like for two main reasons. One, now you just turn the tide 180 all in one move. And two, Natsumi Shozuki, she does a great Fujiwara armbar, and she's taking apart Mirai's best offense, those lariats, right? And her ability not only to take away the lariats, but to take away the Mirror Mirai shock and the double wrist lock, because you're weakening that part of the body. Again, you're literally doing one thing, but you're telling a story in so many different ways, which, again, I think is just levels of genius. This thing just keeps picking up. It's like a roller coaster, up and down, up and down. Great storytelling between these two teams. Eventually, though, this match eventually spills out to the outside we have the speedsters, as I'm going to call them here, just for the segment. Misa Matsui winds up hitting a big dive to the floor. As this match is getting your crescendo, now you're hitting your big high spot. She's a perfect dive to the floor. Eventually, though, we do see the Maui Maui Plex onto from Misa onto Mirai for the 2 count. We do see this really, really great Mirai hits the Mirror Mirai shock, but then she tags in Mai Sakurai and she hits the Goodwin elbow, which I thought was a great combination of moves.
Yeah, it was.
Because these two really don't have a whole bunch of like tag team moves together. We even mentioned at the beginning of the show, they do the Yakuza kick clothesline sandwich. And I'm like, oh, this makes sense, because Mirai has the Mirror Mirai shock. Mai Sakurai has, again, the top rope elbow, which I christened the Goodwin elbow drop. Why not do those back to back? It makes sense. So I really like that. The one thing I'm loving about Mai Sakurai's STF, she doesn't lock it in long for somebody to tap out. And anybody that's been in catch wrestling, anybody that's been in jiu-jitsu, anybody that's been in an MMA fight knows that once somebody has a submission move locked in, once it's locked in right, you're tapping out quick. Really, the exception to the rule, it made sense, was Utami Hayashishita in that Dreamstar final, which a lot of people, including me and you, were like, oh my God, they're going to put Sakurai over. Like, we bid on it. But you see, once she gets this locked in, once she has the step over, through the knee, right, and she has the complete body-to-body contact, she strangles the submission. As soon as she puts it in, she locks it in, these opponents are tapping out quick, which, again, and if you've ever watched MMA or a catch wrestling tournament or a grappling tournament, once somebody has a submission move locked in properly, they're tapping out. And I like how we're showing the danger of the STF. Again, great match, great buildup, great strategy from Misa Natsumi. Again, great job building up the armbar to take away part of Mirai's big move, the lariat. great tag. Again, it basically boils down to tag chemistry at the end of this match with Mariah May Sakurai using their tag chemistry together and able to put this thing away. Excellent storytelling, excellent building. I'm glad, considering the fact the first 4 matches really didn't go too long. I'm glad they invested the time in this one, because this one almost went 18 minutes. I loved that the fact that they had time to tell their story. This is one of the best straight up tag matches in Marigold's short history. Brother, I love this one so much. I actually had it at 4.5 stars. Great match.
Jeez.
Absolutely blew me away the way that this match told stories. And I said all the time, tag team wrestling is so hard to do. Technically, it's a gimmick match, but when you do it and you do it right, it's absolutely beautiful. You look at the tag teams in the 80s, like the Midnight Express, and then you go to the Rockers and Arn and Tully, and tag teams like that. When you have things down to a science, tag team wrestling is absolutely beautiful. And I said it about an hour or so ago, and I'll say it again. Nobody's doing tag wrestling at all anywhere in wrestling like Joshi, like the Joshis, like Stardom, like we've seen on the Sariism shows, like we've been able to see in Sendai Girls, and a lot of the stuff that we're seeing in Marigold, because there's a couple other tag matches that on this tour, which we're going to talk about shortly, that I absolutely loved. Again, 4.5 stars for me. This was my favorite match of these 3 fantastic shows on the Fantastic Adventure Tour.
Look at that. Yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. And I think it's fair to say that these 4 are among the most dependable on the Marigold roster. You know, when you see these 4 in a match, it's going to be tremendous. Obviously, Misa Matsui then made an official challenge for Natsumi Shozuki's Superfly Championship, which puts Natsumi Shozuki in a very interesting position. I think we all anticipate her retaining against Hummingbird on Thursday. But there are 2 people then vying for that championship. You've got Misa Matsui and you have got Victoria Yuzuki, who held Natsumi Shozuki to that time limit draw. Who do we see challenge next? Or do you throw a complete 180 and do you go Myla Grace? I mean, Myla Grace was in that initial tournament. You said about wanting to push her. Why not give Myla Grace a shot at the Superfly Championship? I mean, it doesn't have to be at a Korakuen. You can have it main event in Osaka show. You can have it main event, an Hamamatsu show, a Shizuoka, a Shinkiba. You've got a double shot at Shinkiba first ring immediately following Korakuen. So you could do something like that. But it's an interesting spot to be in. Because I'm of the impression that if you are going to run a time limit draw between Natsumi Shozuki and Victoria Yuzuki, it's because you want to do a rematch. It's because you want another match between the pair. But does that mean that Misa Matsui is now waiting till after Victoria Yuzuki? It's an interesting one, and I'm intrigued to see where they go with this. But overall, I thought I completely agree, Matt. What were you going to say?
I was going to say that you just gave 3 options. None of them are the wrong answer. None of them are the wrong answer.
I thought you were going to say none of them are right. You're an idiot.
No. None of them are the wrong. What I tell, we're a positive podcast. I'm not saying they're going to defeat Natsumi Shozuki. Maybe Misa does. But like if we go to Myla Grace, again, she's kind of the talk of the town, right? You go to Myla Grace, say, hey, she's hot right now. Let's do that. Victoria Yuzuki, you're absolutely right, because they went to the time limit draw in an excellent match. And then Misa Matsui's like, hey, I want to challenge again. That match stole the undercard on, again, one of the best wrestling shows I've seen all year in Summer Destiny, obviously with Io and Utami, and then with Julian Sari as the main event to crown the first red belt champion. So, yeah, you throw out 3 options. I got no problem with all of them. If you're asking me which one I want to see, all of them. Yes, I'm going to be a little greedy. I want to see every single one of those. I want to see
one after another. Yeah, just a gauntlet match.
Well, not really. Maybe that's being too greedy. Maybe one every week.
I see.
Maybe that's if they do a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, then we do one on Friday, one on Saturday, one on Sunday. That's maybe that's the middle of my greediness. But no, I'm again huge fan of this tag match, and Natsumi Shozuki never ceases to impress me. Again, considering the fact that starting 5, 7, 8 months ago, I've never even heard of her before, and she's really risen up the ranks to one of my favorite wrestlers. I love to watch in all of wrestling, which is again another one of the positive things that we've seen with this Marigold and Stardom split, because I know everybody was in panic mode, like what's going to happen, like I don't know who any of these wrestlers are. I'm like, it's just more variety, and I'm absolutely loving what I'm seeing, from obviously the Miko Anos, the Natsumi Shozukis, the Misa Matsuis, the the Nao Ishikawas. There's a lot of great wrestling that's out there, especially in the Joshi scene. And it's an absolute honor and privilege that the fact that we get to watch this and then talk about it, buddy. It's, really cool. What great lives we get to live, buddy. And look at our backgrounds. Look at how great this is. You know what I mean? This is terrific. I did my hair. Once you text me and you said, no, we're going to be doing the live thing, I put gel in it. You only have a little bit of hair coming out, but you're looking dapper as ever, buddy. Like, just styling, my man. We are definitely influenced by the stylish man himself, Rasi Ogawa. Maybe.
Oh, God, yes.
Maybe for First Dream, maybe we should have shirts and ties.
And hats.
Well, there it is, folks.
There you go. It's going to happen. Moving on then to the second show of this run in Act City Hamamatsu from the 13th of October, night 4 of the tour. 232 people announced for this card. It's down by about 100 people from the last time they ran Act City, which was the 2nd of June, and they drew 339 people, which is a decrease of just under 32%. However, though at first glance this is a large decrease and there's no getting away from that, it is worth noting that this attendance is still broadly in line with attendances at the same venue from Noah, who drew 298 on the 23rd of September, TJPW as well, who drew 237 on the 23rd of June. DDT drew 247 on that same date, 23rd of June again, and Dragon Gate on 289 on the 6th of April. So even though it is a drop, they are still broadly in line with those other 4 promotions. And in fact, of the 12 shows run at Act City this year, only 4 of those 12 have been over 500, and only 1 has surpassed 1,000. And those are Stardom, have drawn over 500 twice. New Japan drew 1,000, and then All Japan, who we know are on a proper hot streak this year, drew 505 as part of their Royal Road tournament. So even though people are going to focus on the decrease in the attendance, and that's why I think it's so important that context is added to this. Yes, it is. There's no point lying about it. Yes, of course it's a decrease. Everyone with eyes can see that. However, though it is a decrease, it's still broadly in line with those other promotions. And we said last week, the temptation is to compare it to the 707 that Stardom drew a couple of months ago, to the 600 and something that they drew the time before. But Marigold isn't Stardom. Stardom is in a bubble on its own in terms of Joshi. However, Marigold, if you look at TJPW drawing 237 people, 5 people's difference. Okay, that is where Marigold are sitting at the moment, in my opinion, and that is the comparison you should be drawing.
Not only that, Rob.
Sorry,
I just want to add on to your thought there. But yeah, you're absolutely right. They're in the same vicinity as a DDT, a Noah, and again, those companies have been running decades longer, than Marigold. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. Was Sari on this show?
No.
Okay. Was Bozilla on this show?
No, she was not.
Was the Human Cadillac Dorian DeVille on this show?
He apparently scheduled, but there was a conflict, which unfortunately meant that he couldn't.
There you go. You had 3 people that would have dropped. Considering the fact that you drew over 230 people, you didn't have those 3 people, and not every single wrestler came out in a baseball jersey. You know what I mean? It's still a good house. Still a really good house.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think someone needs to have a word with the people backstage at Marigold, why people aren't coming out in these baseball jerseys that we hope come to America.
Or even wear 2. Even wear 2 at once. You know what I mean? Let's go
absolutely.
for it, right?
Absolutely. Moving on to the results from this show, then. This was the card that was really short, 1 hour and 25 matches, only 1 match going above 10 minutes. We opened with a singles match, Chiaki defeating Kamomo Minami with an Argentine Buster in 7 minutes and 38 seconds. In tag team action, the challengers, or the new challengers, Victoria Yuzuki and Kazuna Tanaka, defeated Misa Matsui and Ria Sato, with Victoria Yuzuki getting the pinfall over Ria Sato with the rolling arrow in 9 minutes and 54 seconds. Singles action, Chikagoto defeated Myla Grace with a chokeslam in 6 minutes and 9 seconds. Another singles match, Mai Sakurai defeated Nao Ishikawa with the STF in 9 minutes and 2 seconds. And then in your main event, a stacked 6-woman tag. Nanae Takahashi, Utami Hayashishita, and Mirai defeated Natsumi Shozuki, Miko Ano, and Koki Amare. Nanae Takahashi pinning Natsumi Shozuki with the 1 second EX in 17 minutes and 9 seconds. Right, Matt, we started with Komomo Minami and Chiaki. Chiaki doing well to overcome some audio errors. I think it's fair to say there was some loud ass feedback from that PA system. Thankfully, they got it sorted, but poor Chiaki having to deal with that. But again, this was very much a case of just like she did unsuccessfully with Victoria Yuzuki, she did it successfully here, where she just waited out Komomo Minami. She knew she was going to eventually wear herself out. She was going at it with such ferocity, with this renewed vigor, that the more she waited it out, the more she was going to run out of ideas. That eventually happened, even though that rollover DDT that Komomo Minami did here, best she's ever done it, beautifully executed. But here, Chiaki was just too strong and ultimately hit the Argentine Buster for the win. I think Komomo Minami has looked, as I said before, really, really good in this, and this is the perfect role at the moment in a singles capacity for Chiaki. Again, when Nagisa Nozaki and Bozilla are on the card, fine, tag matches and you can bump her up that card. But for now, in a singles capacity, this is the perfect role. Get her to beat the likes of Komomo Minami and people like that, and then she can ultimately be fed, for lack of a better phrase, to your likes of Kazuna Tanaka, to Victoria Yuzuki, and things like that. Overall, a really, really good match, Matt.
Yeah, I think Chiaki, she came out of the gate really, really fired up here, and I think it might have been because of the audio. I think that might have really ramped up the heelness. But again, this is a match. She starts grinding down the headlock, and then she's a lot of heat early on in the match. The boot scrapes, the forearms, basically almost her being a bully, which that's what you want. You have a baby face, you have a heel who has a lot more experience than the baby face. Consider the fact she's a young rookie. Easy story to tell. You kind of have that bullying thing there. Is able to get the crowd behind Komomo Minami. Komomo was able to come back with the armbar and is able to really start using some of her strikes and some of her grappling. But you're absolutely right. It's almost like Chiaki is basically letting Komomo use everything that she has in her limited toolbox. And I mean limited because she's only been wrestling a handful of months. But you're right. Eventually, Chiaki basically lets her wear herself out and then is able to hit that Argentine backbreaker, like the torture rack drop, for the 3 count. A solid enough match, solid enough opener, and a good way to start the show with an easy story to tell as you have your heel who's been wrestling a lot longer than your underdog baby face, and then you just have the heel just overpower her, to get the pinfall in a little bit over 7 minutes. 3 1/4 stars for me, a really good way to start the show.
Moving on then to the tag team match. It was important that Kazuna Tanaka and Victoria Yuzuki won this match due to, going into that Korakuen Hall show with momentum. But I think this was a really, really, really solid undercard tag. Again, Misa Matsui you plug her into anything and you're going to get a really good match. Not just because she's phenomenal in ring on her own, not only because she wrestles at such an unbelievable pace, but also because she makes those around to look fantastic, because she sells so brilliantly. And the way she sells the arm bars for Kazuna Tanaka, brilliant. It puts her over massively. And for Victoria Yuzuki as well, because Victoria Yuzuki does employ those arm bars as well. But I think that Kazuna Tanaka especially worked really, really well with Misa here, Matt.
Yeah, we made mention about 3 possible opponents for Natsumi Shozuki for the Super Flyweight Championship. We talked about Victoria Yuzuki. Kazuna Tanaka, her tag partner here, was able to go speed for speed with Misa Matsui to start off. So you're just like, again, that's very much even like Stardom with the high-speed division. There's only certain wrestlers you can put in there because it's a different style, right? It's a different style. It's something really unique. And we have that with the Superfly division here in Marigold. And you're watching this and just like, I know Yuzuki kind of has that in her back pocket because she went to the old TLD with Natsumi Shozuki at that one Korakuen show. But Kazuna Tanaka really can hang in that style as well, considering the fact that she's actually has less experience than Yuzuki. So you're just like, her and Misa Matsui really gelled well together, especially in that style. And obviously Misa Matsui was leading that early part of the match, and rightfully so. Really good exchanges with Misa and Kazuna Tanaka. Victoria Yuzuki and her stuff at Ria Sato was really good, especially the fact that she's ramping up her offense, only for Ria Sato to be able to counter Victoria Yuzuki, locks in the cattle mutilation. Really good stuff there. But ultimately, where this match breaks down is the fact that Kazuna Tanaka and Victoria Yuzuki are a more established tag team, and I'm really enjoying their tag work. Again, considering the fact that they're relatively rookies. I think Yuzuki's a little over a year, but she had those 2 months off or whatever as we were transitioning from Stardom over to Marigold, and these two, they gel really, really well together. Terrific. And even Ria Sato here and Misa Matsui, they gelled well together as a team. Ultimately, great stuff. They had the perfect finish. You're building up Kazuna Tanaka and Victoria Yuzuki on this tour to look credible to going up against Mariah May Sakurai. Really solid stuff between these four wrestlers, these two teams. 10 minutes, I thought, was the perfect time to tell the story. You don't want to overexpose anybody. Terrific match. And again, I'm a huge, huge fan of the tag team division in Marigold, especially Victoria Yuzuki and Kazuna Tanaka. We talked about the Twin Towers of Koki Amare and Chikagoto. More than likely, they're going to be tag champs probably either the end of this year, beginning of next year, sometime in the spring of next year, with more established with Kazuna Tanaka and Victoria Yuzuki versus Chikagoto and Koki Amare. I think those two teams, those four wrestlers with more seasoned, 7-8 months from now, I think you can put on a banger of a tag program that can really lead this company into the future in the tag division. Ultimately, though, great match, solid stuff there. The right team went over in the right fashion. 3 3/4 stars for me, my friend.
Moving on then, Chikagoto and Myla Grace in singles action. I was convinced that Chikagoto's insistence on trying to hit the giant swing would be her undoing in this, because multiple times she went for it, and multiple times Myla Grace was not only able to wriggle out of it, but maneuver it into a pinfall attempt of her own. And I thought that would have been a really cool story, that Chikagoto's reliance on that move ultimately cost her. She does eventually get her into that move, managing to drag Myla Grace off the second rope into the swing. It does cost her her mouth apparently starts bleeding. I don't know where that happened. I don't know whether a boot caught her in the face, but ultimately a sort of a solid win for Chikagoto, if an unspectacular win. And what I mean by that is there was more to be had. We've said it a couple of times, but there's definitely more that these two can do together. But an important singles victory for Chikagoto nonetheless.
Yeah, I don't know if they took this home too early because of the busted mouth, and maybe they thought there had been more to it. Maybe they got hit in the face and it maybe jarred the neck, or maybe with concussion.
Possibly, yeah.
But considering the fact that this show was so short and this match was just too short, a little over, and I literally I had it 3 1/4 stars. It was good, but it just seemed like as it was ramping up, they went to the end, and I was like, "Ooh, I want to see more of that. Like at least another 2 or 3 minutes." Like I think this one should have went 9, 10, maybe even 11 minutes because. Again, Myla Grace is somebody that has improved so much. She's come so far in such a quick time. Chikagoto is one of the most over wrestlers in this company. And I just think that this was at least, this should have went at least 8 minutes and it only got 6. I think that extra 2 minutes, they could have flushed out their story. So again, I don't know why it ended as quick as it did. Maybe that was it. Maybe they only had 6 to 7 minutes to tell their story. And they were told to take it home again, maybe because of the accidental blood, and they just wanted to be err on the side of caution, which I completely understand. One thing you always want to do is be safe, especially in a pro wrestling ring. Again, I would love to see these two run it back, get them 9 or 10 minutes, because there's a lot. You're absolutely right, partner. There was more to be had. It just seemed like as it was ramping up to that next level, they went and took it home. 3 1/4 stars for me. It was good, but yeah, just too short. Too short.
Now Ishikawa and Mai Sakurai. Again, another chapter in a fantastic 3 shows for Now Ishikawa. And she upped the physicality, she upped the intensity. Whereas at the start of the match with Utami, she started as the aggressor. There was still a handshake. Here, Mai Sakurai doesn't even make it in the ring. She's posing on the ropes. Now Ishikawa straight away into her, attacking her, sending her to the outside. And you can almost feel that determination in Now Ishikawa. And even after Mai Sakurai, gets back into the match, they fling each other into the chairs, you can almost see Now Ishikawa's plan coming into effect as she begins to try and target Mai Sakurai's leg. And for me, the story is that she has this plan, but she can't quite sustain offense long enough to put it into action, because every time she threatens the leg, Mai Sakurai ends up on top. It leads to some fantastic exchanges. That forearm exchange, goodness gracious me, the sound those forearms were making off their chests. Ooh, and then you've got those suplexes as well on top of that. Really, really fierce interactions in the middle of this match. But even though Now never truly feels out of the match, it also never felt like Mai Sakurai was going to lose this match. And though Ishikawa was able to wriggle free of the STF, you knew it was only a matter of time that was how it was going to end. Again, now Ishikawa looked really, really good in this. I think Mai Sakurai did a wonderful job of giving her a lot of the offense. Nevertheless, I think it was very clear from the outset, Matt, that Mai Sakurai was winning this.
Yeah, I mean, you were going to have Naomi Ishikawa get her first win over Mai Sakurai against somebody that you're really investing a lot of time in, and rightfully so, because Mai Sakurai has been absolutely fantastic since the start of Marigold, especially, these last few months. But like Now almost gets ahead of herself a little bit too much in this match. And they tell that story. As soon as the bell rings, she jumps. As soon as the bell rings, she jumps Mai Sakurai. She's being overly aggressive. She's really just going back and forth. I mean, so much fighting spirit and passion, part of the Passion Sisters, for lack of a better term. But, and I'm not even trying to be, I am trying to be cute. But anywho, passion package himself, folks. Rob Goodwin dancing away his over there in his cute little hat. But anywho, and I like how, as we're building towards the end of this match, they're dropping bomb after bomb after bomb with the forearms, with the Masahiro Chono shining black that Mai Sakurai does. And now Ishikawa comes back, fighting spirit again, passion, hits the German suplex, and they kind of going back and forth. She goes for another German suplex, but gets ahead of herself too much, because as she goes for the German suplex, technically, if you look at it, she doesn't have the technique on right, because she's getting ahead of herself, and Mai Sakurai is able to roll through it. And that's how she's able to use the mistake of Now Ishikawa and roll through the German suplex and locks in the STF for a tap out. Great match, high intensity. I mean, this thing was go as soon as the bell rang. 9 minutes at this pace was the perfect time for this, because it's just fighting spirit back and forth between two baby faces that are over with the crowd. But again, it's Mai Sakurai's experience, basically leading Now Ishikawa into a false sense of security. She hits that big German suplex around the 7-minute mark, only for her to go for it again. But Mai Sakurai, is able to roll through, locking the STF for the immediate tap out, which again, I love how people are tapping out that really, really quick, because it's a legit submission hold. Great stuff. 3 3/4 stars for me. Excellent semi-main event to this show.
Yeah, I am enjoying the fact that it was almost like Now Ishikawa got that excited at connecting with this power move that she forgot the plan that she'd put into motion earlier on with that dragon screw leg whip. And it's that inexperience, isn't it? She's not she is a rookie, I suppose, in many cases, but she's not, in my opinion, on the same level as a Komomo Minami or a Minami Yuki, for example. But that inexperience is costing her matches. And I think that is what Nanae Takahashi is saying throughout, that exchange that they had at Korakuen Hall. You don't have that passion. You're becoming not lazy, but you're becoming sort of complacent with things. When you get the upper hand, you're making silly mistakes. And I wonder if that's going to be the way that perhaps Nanae beats her at Korakuen Hall. But again, I thought this was another really, really good outing for Now. And again, a dominant singles win in many regards for Mai Sakurai. We move on then to a stacked main event. Nanae Mirai and Utami defeating Miku Ono, Natsumi Shozuki, and Koki Amare. And I thought it was interesting that Natsumi Shozuki, who was the savior in many regards for the team of her and Misa Matsui in KBS Hall, was absolutely tortured throughout this match, especially by Mirai, who just seemed to have the most fun ever, just beating the ever-loving Jimmy out of Natsumi Shozuki for the vast majority of this match. Really, really, really enjoyable main event. And what made it nicer for me, it was two things. You got arguably the three biggest stars in Marigold, in Utami, Mirai, and Nanae Takahashi, next to the three future and upcoming stars in Koki Amare, Miko Ano, and Natsumi Shozuki. That was a really, really nice sort of standoff, if you will, but also just how much fun it looked like Nanae, Utami, and Mirai were having. Mirai obviously is always beaming, but there was just a real sense of relaxed fun in the way they came out to the ring, and that warmed my heart, Matt Turner.
Yeah, literally, you literally took the words right out of my mouth, partner. You literally have your established stars. You again, Nanae Takahashi and Utami Hayashishita, the two former red belt champions over in Stardom, two former winners of the 5-star Grand Prix. Mirai, former white belt champion, won back-to-back Cinderella tournaments back in 2021 and 2022, 2022 and 2023. Excuse me. So you have that, and then you have the new cool kids coming in. Almost if you're looking at this like high school, is you have Nanae, Utami, Mirai. They're the seniors, where you have the new cool freshmen coming in, and Natsumi Shozuki, Koki Amare, and Miko Ano. That's like, again, they're the new cool kids. They're the new like kind of it factor in Marigold, and you absolutely summed that up perfectly, partner. And yeah, they do a great job of like, no, we're going to step up. We're, Miko, Koki Amare, Natsumi Shozuki are like, we may be new here, but like we're confident in our ability. We're going to be able to step up to these vets that are absolutely crushing it here in Marigold and been crushing it in pro wrestling for the last handful of years. And they do a great job going back and forth. And you're absolutely right. There is a lot of torture on one Natsumi Shozuki. But when she fires up, boy howdy, she fires up the kicks, those diving knee bombs. I mean, she really brings it. And again, what happens in this match is they take Natsumi Shozuki and they bring her here. And then she's here, here, here. And by the end, she's here. And eventually she gets beat. So it's like they do a great job building her up, showing again the passion, the fire, the fighting spirit of her in this match, only for her to get beat. Because again, if they just squash her the entire match, and then she eats the MX from Nanae Takahashi, who do they really beat? They do a great job building her up and making her pretty much almost the MVP of this match. The selling, the bumping, the allowing her to fire up when she's supposed to fire up, the crowd psychology, knowing where to put all of her stuff, I thought was genius. Koki Amare was great here as well. She filled her role out really well. Miko Ano is the only champion in this match, right? Technically. So they did a great job making her look like a star and getting the belt over in this match, even though the championship's not on the line. Ultimately, this was just another great match. This was probably my second favorite match from this tour. 4.25 stars for me. This was absolutely terrific. And again, very much like the main event and the night before this match, they gave it time to breathe. A lot of the other matches were a little bit quicker, and I understand that. But the fact this one went over 17 minutes, they were able to tell their story. There's excellent, excellent stuff here, especially when the Miko Ano and the Utami Hayashishita, when we saw that exchange, I mean, again, we're kind of teasing here a little bit. We expect Miko Ano maybe to be an early challenger in Utami's reign sometime next year. That could be a very big money program, maybe in a Korakuen Hall show sometime March or April next year. Miko Ano, once it's time for her to drop the Pure White Belt Championship, obviously Utami Hayashishita, we expect her to go on that run with that Red Belt Championship somewhere in 2025. What a great V2, V3, V4 match that would be for Utami Hayashishita to go up against Miko Ano, because I mean, we've seen little teases here or there. And I think these two have great chemistry, and that Utami Hayashishita is going to be able to pull Miko Ano up, considering the fact she's already at that top echelon over here in Marigold. That Utami Hayashishita, when it comes time to the singles program, is going to be able to pull her up in a main event style. And we saw a little glimpse of it here. They gave us just a little taste, partner, just a little taste. But ultimately, this match was about making Natsumi Shozuki only to beat her, which that's the right way of going about business, especially in a big main event. Again, 4.25 stars from me, my friend. Absolutely love this match.
Yeah, I really, really, really enjoyed this match. It was given time to breathe without feeling like it overstayed its welcome. You'd got lovely exchanges between Nanae and Natsumi Shozuki, which I don't feel is a program that we've run anywhere near enough. I don't feel like these two interact a lot at all on the Marigold roster. But Natsumi Shozuki sold like nobody's business for Nanae. You've got Koki Amare and Mirai revisiting that fantastic Dream Star match, and Miko Ano and Utami. You mentioned it. They just keep teasing it. It's something that I know we're going to get. but those lariats that they were thumping into each other with were absolutely brutal, and I absolutely loved it. And again, Utami is so good on offense, but she's such an amazing seller as well. Like, she gave Mikuano so much in those exchanges, as well as coming across like an absolute beast. But those exchanges with Mikuano, those thunderous lariats into each other's chest when neither one was moving, beautiful. Really, really good. This was my match of the tour. I thought this was fantastic. Really, really, really good match. But yes, overall, that does bring us to the end of the Hamamatsu show, which means that we move to Shibuya, which was the show from Monday night. Monday night? What am I talking about? Yeah, the show from Monday. I was
You're right. Look at that. You just want to make sure I was paying attention. Because I was off camera. And when I'm off camera, folks, I'm literally just writing some notes down. That's it. Like, where's Matt going? Whoa.
He's not at all. No, we're moving to night 5 then of the Fantastic Adventure Tour, 14th of October from Shibuya Sports Center in Tokyo. 285 people in attendance. It's the first time that Marigold have run this venue. There's only been one other wrestling show, according to Cage Match, that's actually run in Shibuya Sports Center, and that was Stardom. They drew 400 or just over 400 as a part of their 5-star Grand Prix tour. I think it was night 2. It was main evented by Mayu Iwatani and Saya Ida. The results then are as follows. Singles match saw Komomo Minami getting her first ever Marigold pinfall, defeating Minami Yuki with a pinfall reversal in 6 minutes and 41 seconds. Never felt happier. What a moment. She looked so overwhelmed. It was beautiful. Singles action, Kazuna Tanaka defeated Nao Ishikawa with a fisherman's suplex in 7 minutes and 45 seconds. Misa Matsui and Rhea Sato defeated Myla Grace and Natsumi Shozuki in tag team action. Misa Matsui rolling up Myla Grace with the European clutch in 10 minutes and 8 seconds. Tag team semi-main event, Mai Sakurai and Mirai and Utami Hayashishita and Victoria Yuzuki going the full time limit, 15 minutes. And do you know what, Matt? We've only had one in these 3 shows. It made sense, and I have no issue with it whatsoever. And then in your main event, 6-woman tag team match. Bozilla, Chiaki, and Nagisa Nozaki defeated the Twin Towers, Koki Amare and Chikugoto, and Miko Ano, with Nagisa Nozaki absolutely plowing through Chikugoto with the Noir Lancer in 14 minutes and 53 seconds. Matt, lots to like about this show. Lots to like about the first match that we're going to be talking about, which was Komomo Minami getting that first victory. I was so happy for it. I really was. And yeah, it's not a match that's going to live long in the memory in terms of action, but the fact that she got the victory, she's earned that victory. We've showered her with praise for her defense. Fully deserved, Matt Turner.
Yeah, and Yuki's obviously, she's somewhere that's come a long way already. You know, there's a lot of things that I'm impressed with, but very much like Rhea Sato, there's some things that looks like, okay, maybe take that out of the arsenal or work on it just yet. There's a couple things here and there, but overall, I really like her package. And she's only been wrestling a handful of months as well, but good match, 7 minutes, right around the 7-minute mark. I thought was enough for them to tell their story without getting, going over a little bit. But and again, another solid way to start this match, and they made it feel big and important, considering the fact that you have 2 rookies here. But Komomo gets her first win, and they put it all over social media. Good on Marigold for doing that, for making this match feel really, really important to start the show out. 3.25 stars for me. Komomo Minami, hopefully it's going to be one win of what we're feeling is going to be many, many wins in her bright career, partner.
That leaves Nao Ishikawa as the sole person to not have a pinfall victory in Marigold. Obviously not counting people who wrestled in Julia's gauntlet and people that have only wrestled one match and things, but people who have wrestled on a regular basis in Marigold, Nao Ishikawa is the only one to not have a singles victory to her name. Of course, Zeta Steele also didn't, but she's no longer on the roster. Moving on then, Kazuna Tanaka and Nao Ishikawa. I must admit, Matt, I was surprised that Kazuna Tanaka got the victory here. Now, I don't mean that in... No, let me rephrase that. I'm not surprised that Kazuna Tanaka got the victory because it makes sense for Kazuna Tanaka to get the victory. I'm surprised she did it in the way she did, as quickly as she did. I thought this, considering the way that Naoya Ishikawa had gone at both Utami and Mai Sakurai, I was under the impression that Naoya Ishikawa was going to go at Kazuna Tanaka with the same level of aggression and intensity and would then fall foul of the Redream. But actually, it felt very much like this was fairly rudimentary for Kazuna Tanaka. It almost felt too easy for Kazuna Tanaka. And I don't know whether that is because you are telling the story of Naoya Ishikawa taking her for granted, or whether it's, the overconfidence that we talked about. Either way, it was a good match. I'm potentially just a little bit surprised at the finish.
I see your point, and I'm going to look at this from a behind-the-scenes thing. You talked about Utami and Mai Sakurai. Kazuna Tanaka is not yet Utami and Mai Sakurai. She can't pull the longer match out, right? She doesn't have that. She doesn't have that experience to do that with Naoya Ishikawa, right? Because that's Utami, that's Mai Sakurai, that's the top. That's the top of your card. That's the way that I'm looking at the fact that this match wasn't as long as the other two. It's because if it went a little bit longer, you probably would have been able to see kind of the tricks behind the trade, right? Because Kazuna Tanaka is not there yet. Naoya Ishikawa, she can probably lead some matches here or there. They're not there yet. In a year or two, this match, 14, 15 minutes, yes, please. Absolutely, 100%. So I absolutely see your point there. It's just like, let's give them 7-8 minutes. Let them go out, have like a kind of a 50-50 match there. Have Kazuna Tanaka be able to kind of put two big moves together at the end in order to get the win with the Redream and the Fisherman Suplex. I had no problem with the finish. I would have flipped it. Again, I love the Redream. We just started building it back up again after everybody kicked out of it at the Dream Star. And now Ishikawa kicks out of the Redream, and then she gets beat with the Fisherman Suplex. Kazuna Tanaka's got a great Fisherman Suplex. I would have reversed that. There's a lot of people, especially in Marigold, especially in Stardom, that do a really good Fisherman Suplex. Chaki's one of them, Sariano. There's a lot of people we see the Fisherman Suplex quite a bit. So it's like, I would have done the Fisherman Suplex, had her kick out at 2, maybe had Naoya Ishikawa fight back a little, had Kazuna Tanaka hit her with some bombs, with some kicks, because she's got some really good kicks, a la, thanks to her dad, thanks, Pop, and then hit the Redream. Again, I would have just had the Redream been the finish. Overall, though, 3.25 stars. A great outing from two great wrestlers that I have a feeling we're going to see a lot more of these two in the ring together in the next year or two, which I am all for and super excited for.
Moving on then to the tag team action. You know what they say, Matt. You're waiting for a bus for years and years and years, and then two arrive at once. Myla Grace took to Twitter and Instagram a couple of weeks ago to say that there was something with her nose that meant she never bled from her nose. And ultimately, because of an errant elbow from Naoya Ishikawa, her nose ended up bleeding. And I believe she broke it. I could be wrong, but I think she broke it. Sure enough, here, she ends up with another bloodied nose, this time courtesy of Rhea Sato. Honestly, Matt, through the wars, the Irish beauty.
Yeah, they're really testing her. Maybe they're upset because she's got this fancy new gear. But no, in all seriousness, again, you have 4 wrestlers, 2 teams here that really you don't see team up that much. Rhea Sato, Misa Matsui, and then Natsumi Shozuki and Myla Grace. So, and I like how we're kind of, again, we're in the early stages of Marigold. They've been a company only for, I think, 6 or 7 months. And you never know what is going to mesh really well. And you use these shows as your experience. Again, Myla Grace, Natsumi Shozuki, they actually worked really well together. As did Rhea Sato and Misa Matsui. This match really worked. They didn't try to do anything. They kept it simple. They were able to hit the high spots when they needed to. They were able to tell a great story kind of back and forth between these two. And then we know Misa Matsui and Natsumi Shozuki, they have great chemistry together, not only as a team, but obviously as opponents. So you're able to tell that story there. Ultimately, though, it's Misa Matsui that catches Myla Grace with the European clutch for the 3 count. A really good match. Again, you're telling the story of Misa and Natsumi Shozuki. They're going to be very much like Mirai and Miko Ano, forever rivals. You can put them together on a tag match, across the ring, and it's going to makes sense, it's going to deliver. And then eventually we know somewhere down the line they're going to be wrestling against for that Superfly championship. I wouldn't be shocked in a year from now that they're challenging each other for the pure white belt championship. I can see either of these wrestlers holding that secondary belt in the next 8, 10, 12 months and then feuding, for that championship, and I'm all for it. Really good match. Again, another solid tag match from Marigold. 3.5 stars for me. And again, Myla Grace, even though she ate the L here, she really looked like a big star, or a star that's about to be on the ascend sooner than later. 3.5 stars for me, partner.
So we move on then to the semi-main event, which saw Mirai Saku and Utami and Victoria Yuzuki go to the time limit draw. And this was the perfect example of when a time limit draw is needed. This was great. Thoroughly enjoyable match. I don't know whether I'm just I don't know if I'm just very easy to please, but that closing exchange between Mirai and Utami, and particularly that final sell from Utami from that Mirai lariat where she basically does a complete 360. Absolutely fantastic. Really entertaining match, man.
Yeah, we kind of joke about sometimes the overuse of the time limit draws that we've seen from the Hat Man, not only Marigold, but, doing the Stardom cast as long as we have. And the fact this was the only time limit draw on these 3 shows, and this was the perfect one, and
Perfect.
and I because there was a lot. There was I think even some of the Marigold shows in the first 2 or 3 months where there was 5 matches and 2 of them ended in a time limit draw. I'm like, you're having almost half your matches go to the time limit draw, and you kind of weren't building towards anything. Where it's like, as this match was ramping up, I'm like, I actually hope this goes to the time limit draw. And again, considering the fact that this was the only time limit draw we had on this tour, and it was absolutely perfect. Yeah, this was my my favorite match of this show, probably my 3rd favorite match from these 3 shows that we reviewed. I had it 4.25 stars. And again, you have your established team of Mirai Mai Sakurai going up against your future in Victoria Yuzuki, and the future pretty much is now. And again, your ace in Utami Hayashishita. This was a great back and forth match. And you very much told the story of that anytime Utami or Victoria Yuzuki was getting the advantage of the match, you would have your tag, basically some tag wrestling coming in. You would have Mirai, if she was in trouble, Mai Sakurai would come in and vice versa. So that was a great story to tell. But yeah, you have, in my opinion, your 3 biggest, and I'm not counting Sari because she's a freelancer and she wasn't on this tour. You have your 3 biggest stars in this match with Utami, Mai Sakurai, and Mirai in this match, and Victoria Yuzuki, who would not be shocked if she's in the finals or wins the Dream Star next year, because they clearly have big things planned for her, and rightfully so. She played her role really well, and again, Utami Hayashishita is able to make sure everybody in the match looks better than they already do. Again, terrific match. I would have no problem if they ran this back next week and it went to another TLD because of the way they were able to tell the story with all 4 of these wrestlers and these 2 teams. Excellent stuff. Again, another just phenomenal Joshi tag match that we've seen this year. I mean, you can put this one right into the list with all the other great ones that we've seen. Terrific stuff. And just goes to show you what a great wrestler Utami Hayashishita is, because we know what a great singles wrestler she is. We know when she's part of Queen's Quest, especially when she's teamed with Momo, and the last 2 years when she was teamed with Saya Kamatani, what a great tag wrestler that she is. Here it is, Victoria Yuzuki, somebody that she's only been Victoria Yuzuki's only had, a couple dozen matches in her career, but is able to have instant chemistry with Victoria Yuzuki. That just shows you what a great wrestler Utami Hayashishita is. And I'm always impressed with the tag team that is Mirai Mai Sakurai. Again, even though this wasn't for the tag belts, and I understand because you haven't built anything there, there's no substance of the story. You just gave us a great match. And I will never say no to a great match, because damn it, partner, this was a great match. Again, 4.25 stars for me.
Something that I'd seen quite a lot of discussion about was the use of Victoria Yuzuki, and why she hasn't been as pushed as as people perceive that she might be. I personally think she's been used perfectly, because as good as she is in ring, and Jesus Christ, is she good in the ring, she's also only 19 and is only a year into her career. You don't want to overexpose her too early. And this progressive build up the card that they are doing with Victoria Yuzuki is the perfect way to build her. I think they've actually handled her very well. she didn't need to be in the hunt for the Dreamstar Grand Prix this year. She doesn't need to be in the main event of every show. She just needs the opportunity to shine, and that's what she's doing. Being present in this match, having the Superfly Championship match. Yes, she didn't win. She had a very good match. She's going to be in the tag title match or the Twin Star Championship match on Thursday. She's not going to win, I wouldn't have thought. But again, she's going to have that chance to shine. It's a slow build with her. Again, less than a year into her career. That is how special she is. Without a doubt, we talked about Koki Amare being a future Marigold World Champion. I am even more certain that Victoria Yuzuki, obviously, fingers crossed, everything being okay, will be a future Marigold World Champion and the future ace of this company. She's that good. Let it breathe. Enjoy it. Enjoy the ride. And I think, again, they've done a tremendous job of building her, especially over the last couple of months. Moving on to your main event then, the Twin Towers and Miko Ano falling foul to the heelish trio of Nagisa Nozaki, Chiaki, and the returning from illness Bozilla. And Matt, this match was all about Nagisa Nozaki.
That and a lot of Bozilla as well. You'd had Bozilla getting a little bit of revenge on one Miko Ano for winning the Pure White Belt champion, because as this match is ramping up, you know you weren't going to beat Miko Ano, but you want to build up not only Bozilla, but obviously Natsumi Shozuki, because they're the two big heels going for the two big belts coming up on your big show this week. So easy story to tell. You know that Miko Ano, maybe Miko Ano, maybe if she dropped the fall to Nagisa Nozaki, wouldn't have been that big. But they had Bozilla pretty much properly take her out. And then Nagisa Nozaki not only take Chikagoto out of this match with the Noir Lancer, almost took her out of the promotion, because those last two big boots, holy gee, I was literally doing my note. Again, I was in New York, I was doing my notes, and Lily said something. And I looked over at her, and all of a sudden you hear the big crack, and I was like, what was that? And again, I'm in New York City. Some strange things occur in New York City, and I wasn't sure what it was. And one of the many things I love about Wrestle Universe is if you tap on the screen, you could hit the -10 to go back 10 seconds. So that's what I did. I was like, what was that sound? And I wasn't sure if it was outside. I wasn't sure if something happened with my kiddo, or if it was Nagisa Nozaki with just that brutal sliding Noir Lancer to Chikagoto. But again, this was another solid match, great match. Chiaki's kind of almost the odd person out in this match, because again, we need to build Bozilla up and Nagisa Nozaki up towards their big matches coming up in Korakuen Hall. But she played her role perfectly. Again, grinding on the headlock early on, slowing things down, doing the proper heat onto Chikagoto. Again, Chikagoto's ever enduring with the crowd. Miko Ano, she's a main eventer. She's your pure white belt champion. Koki Amare, she is somebody that we are going to be pushing, and rightfully so, in the next few months, whether it's a shot at that pure white belt championship, or whether it's for, eventually for a red belt match. I wouldn't be shocked if it's both sometime in the next 6-7 months. But Chikagoto is so enduring with the crowd. Again, she's got the cool chant. She understands how to react to the crowd. She's the one pushing the baseball jersey, maybe more so than anybody, partner, which in my eyes goes a long way. And I know you too. But no, this is really good stuff. Again, Miko on. And again, I like how we built Hidan Chikagoto. Koki Amare comes in there, helps out her tag partner. She's at that explosive offense. We saw in that match with Mariah at the Dream Star, it was basically just big boot versus chop versus lariat. Sometimes that's all you need to tell the story. And then when Miko Ano gets in there, she does a great job cleaning house, with the clotheslines, with the kicks. And they, again, very much like in the Utami match the day before, the show before, they gave us just a little bit with Miko, a little more. They gave us a little more Miko Ano and Nagisa Nozaki as a little preview of what we're getting and what I'm assuming is going to be the semi-main event in Korakuen Hall. Just to wet the beat just a little bit, saying, oh boy, this is going to be hard-hitting and right up my alley. Again, Bozilla does a great job. Miko Ano, she builds herself up and kind of gets the better of Chiaki and Nagisa Nozaki, only for Bozilla to come and basically take away the biggest threat on this babyface side. That basically takes away Miko Ano and leaves basically Nagisa Nozaki to be able to pick up the win on Chikagoto. Great match, great story to tell. 15 minutes, perfect time. 4 stars for me. Terrific stuff, and really a great job building up Bozilla and Nagisa Nozaki going into probably the 2 biggest matches of their career coming up in Korakuen Hall this Thursday.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it did exactly what it needed to do. And I thought as well, just going back to your thoughts on Chiaki, I think she did a good job of being sort of the heat from that pair, the person who took a lot of the heat from the baby faces, that allowed Bozilla to come in and be that destroyer, that allowed Nagisa Nozaki to deliver those two absolutely thumping Noir Lancers. That second one in particular, as you mentioned, absolutely brutal. But that does bring us to an end of the show reviews, which means only one thing, and that is the preview of that Korakuen Hall supercard that we were talking about before. 24th of October 2024, live on Wrestle Universe with English commentary as well. All 4 belts on the line, Matt. It is an absolutely stacked card. I'm just going to quickly whip through the card before we delve into the matches. Myla Grace and Chiaki versus Komomo Minami and Minami Yuki. The debut of Naho Yamada. She'll be taking on Misa Matsui in her first Marigold match. Utami Hayashishita and Koki Amare taking on Chika Goto and Ria Sato in tag action. Passion Injection match, Nanae Takahashi versus Nao Ishikawa. And then we get into these title matches. Marigold Twin Star Championships, Mirai Saku, Mirai and Mai Sakurai versus Victoria Yuzuki and Kazuna Tanaka. The Marigold Superfly Championship match, Natsumi Shirozuki, the champion, making her second title defense against Hummingbird, the debuting Hummingbird. Marigold United National Championship match, Miko Ueno making her third title defense again. No, second title defense against Nagisa Nozaki. And then in your main event, the Marigold World Championship match, Sari, the champion, making her first title defense against Bozilla. Matt, absolutely stacked card, matches galore that I am excited for. Also, some really intriguing matches on the lower card as well. I'm really excited to see what Naho Yamada can do. She's just passed her Marigold protest. We've got the Twin Towers colliding as well on opposite sides of that tag match. And this Passion Injection match as well. Nanae Takahashi versus Nao Ishikawa. We talked a little bit earlier about how we thought that Nao has to win that match. Are you still of the opinion that Nao needs to win that match? Or do you think it's more a case of the performance is more what matters?
No, you kind of, I think it was last week on the Stardom cast where you mentioned how Nanae Takahashi, because she has that TLD with Sari from the Dream Star, and a lot of people, including me and you, our favorite match from that entire tournament. So why not run that back? So yeah, so if you have her Nanae lose someone that doesn't have a win, you're kind of taking some of the steam off that money drawing match that you're going to have between now and probably the end of the year. So I wouldn't be heartbroken if Nao Ishikawa won, because I think the time is right. But at the same time, I think Nanae gets the win here. And then after Sari defeats Bozilla, which I think is going to happen, and it should happen, again, because Sari and Utami is your big money match that you're probably going to do at First Stream on the 3rd of January. I think you do Nanae and Sari sometime either November or early December leading up, towards that match with Utami. So yeah, again, I think the timing is right from now to win, but considering the fact that you're literally sitting on a money match with Sari and Nanae Takahashi, I think Nanae gets the win here, and then I think she challenges Sari at the end of this loaded show.
I agree with you. So let's go through these matches then before we go into Gaze with Julia, because Matt, I don't want to alarm you, but I have actually remembered this week. Myla Grace and Chiaki versus Komomo Minami and Minami Yuki. I wouldn't be surprised if Myla Grace and Chiaki win this and Myla Grace challenges for the Superfly Championship. I've sort of warmed up to the fact that does mean that Natsumi Shirozuki has got 3 challengers heading into the end of this year. But again, they don't just solely need to be Korakuen Hall shows. It adds a little bit of spice to some of those Wrestle Universe shows, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm all for that. I totally agree. I think that's the way that they're going to go. I think that's the way they should go. Yeah, let's stack some challengers up for Natsumi Shirozuki. Give her something to do, really something to sink her teeth into, because she's had a fantastic year, and what a great way to kind of round out the year and go into next year. If you have a Myra Grace, if you have a Victoria Yuzuki, if you have maybe a Kazuna Tanaka, again. And then if you do have a Misa Matsui, because you have all that lined up. So yeah, I'm going to say that Mila Grace, I think she picks up the win here. I think it'd be a great way to start this show, because I think you're probably going to have about 800-900 people in Korakuen Hall, maybe more, fingers crossed. I hope they do go over the 1,000 mark. Because they have a lot of momentum going into the show, and the show's been built up really well. And you have a lot of big matches. So what a great, and Korakuen Hall is always packed. It's always, they're very enthusiastic. And I think a great way to start the show off is to give Mila Grace a big win here, because I think, again, she's somebody that's improved so much in every aspect of pro wrestling.
Yeah, agreed. Naho Yamada then making her debut against Misa Matsui, her former tag partner in Ice Ribbon. I think Misa Matsui wins. You're trying to build her up ahead of her Superfly challenge. We've seen debutantes win. We saw Minami Yuki win against Kamomo Minami. However, I feel like this is built for a really good performance from Naho Yamada. Who's going to know her better than her former tag partner? But I think Misa Matsui is going to come away with the victory here, Matt.
Yeah, I completely agree. Can it go the other way? Sure. Stranger things have happened, but you're absolutely right. We're teasing a rematch with Misa Matsumi and Natsumi Shozuki, again, in the match that pretty much stole the entire undercard at the Summer Destiny. But yeah, I totally agree that Misa Matsui picks up the win here.
Then we move on to Utami Hayashishita and Koki Amare versus Chika Goto and Rhea Sato. This is another really interesting one, but I think you look at the star power. Utami Hayashishita and Koki Amare, we've done nothing but wax lyrical about Koki Amare today. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Koki Amare that gets the pinfall here.
Yeah, no disrespect to Rhea Sato, but it's kind of like, hey, tag team, we're going to have you split you guys on opposite ends on this Korakuen show. Koki Amare, you're going to be teaming with Utami Hayashishita, the ace of this company, one of the best wrestlers in all of wrestling. Oh, by the way, Chika Goto, you're going to get this rookie. You know what I mean? But, it's like, wait a minute. But yeah, I think this will be a fun. It's going to be interesting to see the exchanges with Goto and Koki Amare. But again, we've seen Utami Hayashishita time in and time out is able to take wrestlers in the middle of the card, like Chika Goto, and somebody really on the bottom of the card, because she's a rookie in Rhea Sato, and make them look really good. And she's going to do it here. But ultimately, I totally agree. I think Utami and Koki Amare pick up the W here.
We then move on to that passion injection match, Nanae versus Now. We've both talked about this a little bit already, and I think we both assume that Nanae is going to win. I think we both assume that Nanae is also going to challenge the winner of Sari and Bozone. I was just looking at Marigold's schedule for the remainder of the year. There are 2 more Korakuen Hall shows, Thursday the 14th of November and then Thursday the 26th of December. I would say that you could definitely fit at least one red belt title match into those 2 shows. I think Nanae versus Sari is definitely one to draw tickets into one of those Korakuen Hall shows, Matt.
Yeah, I think as much as again, we've seen it with Stardom throughout the years that they usually that 26 show is usually year-end climax, which used to be kind of their big show until they really kind of exploded over the last couple of years. But considering the fact that you literally have a week in between the 26th of December and the 3rd for First Dream, you only have about a week's time to build that Sari versus Utami match, which we think is going to be the main event. And we know that Rossi doesn't like to rush certain things, and that's something that you don't want to rush. My guess is you do that in November. You have Sari get the win. You have Utami get a big win on the show, whether it's a tag match, singles match, or 6-person match. And then that's when you start planning the seats. That's when you really start selling tickets for that show. You're giving yourself 6-7 weeks to build to Sari versus Utami. So my guess is you do it in the middle of November and have Sari get the win there. But yeah, I think Nanae gets the win here. And then you have Nanae challenge Sari afterwards. But I think that maybe on the 26th of December, you do run back Passion Injection 2, Electric Boogaloo, when Nanae Takahashi, Now Ishikawa, and then you give Now her win there. That's a possibility because it is Christmas season. You're going to have a lot of people off work. You're going to be able to pack Korakuen Hall and a lot of people coming over for that Wrestle Kingdom weekend. That can kind of be like the first show that everybody goes to see. But again, it's another story as I'm rambling on as I tend to do. But yeah, I think Nanae gets the win here.
Yeah, I do agree that they will run this Passion Injection match back. I mean, if you were going to do it, why not do it? If you're going to do it in Korakuen Hall, you might as well do it the week after and set up a big level pay-per-view match. Not every match can be a title match, but you can have story going into it. And I think you can quite easily run this back at First Stream. Just to save time, Matt, obviously we've been through these 4 title matches. Do you see any of the 4 titles changing hands? And secondly, who do you see? We've already talked about the red belt. We think Sari is going to retain. I imagine we're both still of the same opinion there. Sari, and we think Nanae Takahashi will come out and challenge. What do you think about the rest of the belts?
I don't think any of them changes. I think if anyone is going to change, I'm going to say Twin Star. I'm going to say,
I agree.
I think that would change. I mean, I can see like them wanting to put a shock by putting Hummingbird, because again, somebody that's completely new winning the super flyweight championship, but you've already established your 3 other challengers going up against Natsumi Shosuke. Yeah. So you have that. I mean, you can flip it if you want, but I mean, that's kind of not Rossi's style, but we've kind of seen that quite a bit. And a lot of pro wrestling comes over the last decade or so. That's kind of not Rossi's style. I see everyone retaining. I see every match being fantastic. Obviously, I'm really looking forward to Natsumi Shosuke versus Nagisa Nozaki versus Miko Ano, because they've really done a great job building that up. But I wouldn't be shocked that after the big draw is going to be Bozil and Sari. And I do want to talk about where you think this is going to land attendance-wise, because there's a couple things I want to point out. But I wouldn't be shocked that, maybe just because of the tag wrestler that's in me, I wouldn't be shocked that when we're reviewing this show next week that we're saying one of, if not the best matches on that show, is Sakurai and Mirai versus Kazuna Tanaka and Victoria Yuzuki. And again, you have the underlining story of where there's a little bit of cracks in the team of the former DDM members, and can the 2 young rookies take advantage of it? So again, really interesting stuff. I don't think any championship is going to change hands, but if anyone, it's going to be the tag. But how about you? It seemed like you're in the same boat as me. You think that the champions are going to go 4 for 4 on this?
I think the champions will go 4 for 4, and I do agree that if there is one that will change hands, I do think it will be the Twin Star. I don't think that will, though, simply because looking at potential challenges for Miko Ano, I think that Mai Sakurai could potentially be the next challenger for Miko Ano. Now, obviously, there is a right challenge from the Dream Star. Whether that is something that they pull the trigger on one of these last 2 Korakuen Hall shows of 2024, or whether that's, the semi-main event of First Dream, Sari versus Sutami, Miko Ano versus Mai Sakurai, it could be, but I think you get the win here, and I think we see Mai Sakurai challenge at the end of Miko Ano and Nagisa Nozaki.
Yeah, I mean, you can do Miko Ano versus Mai Sakurai, something that's going to draw tickets at First Stream. You don't necessarily need to put the tag belts that are on there. And again, Rossi has no problem having champions with multiple belts. Look at Io back in the day, even just as recent as I was only a few years ago. But look at Shiri, was the SWA champion, was the one half of the Goddess champions with Julie, and then defeated Utami at the end of the year. At the end of
Tam now,
Tam now. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Nats 2-point, by the way, folks.
Nats 2-point, exactly.
Don't forget, folks. Nats 2. Actually, you know what? Here, I'm going to plug this away. Don't forget, Nats 2-point stickers are available, my friend. Right there.
There you go. Look at that. Look at that.
It's not a baseball jersey, but look at that. It just happened to be right there too. Look at that. But partner, I just as far as the draw goes, because we know Marigold, when they first came out of the gate, they were white hot. A lot of it has to do with the newness of it. The Julia obviously being a huge star, they were able to get EO on the one show, and then we talked about the attendance, especially these Korakuen Hall shows being 700, 600. Not where they want to be. Still, again, great shows. You can't deny great shows, great production quality. Again, Sunny and Stu on the commentary add so much, especially to the the English speaking community that both me, you, and majority of our fan base are. Where do you think this is going to draw? And before you answer that, I just want to point this out. Like, a lot of people this is going to be a big test for Sari. A lot of people have Sari as one of, if not their overall wrestler of the year, and rightfully so. I understand that. But like Sari's been able to sell out the Sariism shows, which usually happen in Chikiba first ring. It's like 400 or 500 people, right? Again, she's selling out, and especially those matches, those tag matches are absolutely fantastic, must see. We've seen her be able to, obviously her and Julia, that they did 3,000 at First Dream, or not First Dream, excuse me, Summer Destiny. But let's face it, a lot of that was on the back of Io Shirai, Io Sky, where we've seen Sari in these shows, her and Miko Ano, red belt champion, white belt champion, in the Dream Star, 700 people. So again, Sari, phenomenal wrestler. A lot of people think she's the best wrestler in the world. I will not dispute that fact whatsoever. But we've never seen her be able to draw a really big house kind of on her own as a main eventer. You have Bozilla, again, building her up like Stan Hansen, right? Bozilla, who's over and over kind of in a heel way and people want to see. So she has the perfect opponent. Do you think they draw? Like, where do you think is a good? I'm going to say like 850 is going to be a good draw. I think anything less than that, I think is going to be a disappointment. Where do you see them drawing? And do you think that Sari? Because again, this is going to be a big test for Sari, is if she can draw as a top level main eventer.
They drew 623 the last time they were at Korakuen Hall, and I think that was a disappointing number. And I think we talked about that before, didn't we? Mm-hmm. I would be very, very, very surprised with 4 title matches, with stories going in with the likes of Nanae and now Ishikawa. I would be very surprised if Marigold draw under 800 here. I think they will be looking for around 900. The 2 big shows that they've drawn at Korakuen Hall were the first ever show, Marigold Fields Forever, and then where they drew 1,500, they drew 1,400 to Julia's last match as well. You could argue that the Korakuen Hall shows in the interim haven't had that same draw. Yeah, that same appeal, that same feel. However, your first show with all 4 titles on the line, I feel like this is a big show. It's basically a pay-per-view level show,
sure,
isn't it? Let's be perfectly honest. I think if you were being optimistic, I think this could draw just under 1,000 people. I think if you are to be realistic, I think Marigold would be very happy if they were to draw between 850 and 950. And I think you're more than capable of that. I personally don't think that Sari will have a problem drawing. I don't think that Bozilla will have a problem drawing. And again, it's not just necessarily about who is in that main event, who are in these matches. It's also the fact that the title has never been defended.
Sure. It's unknown. It's unknown.
Yeah, it's an inaugural match. And also, you've got Bozilla, who has been stopped twice, I believe, in singles action. So, well, 3 times, sorry. 3 times. I forgot about Nanae and the Dream Star. 3 times in singles action. And she is an insurmountable force. And she's already beaten Sari as well. You could be forgiven for thinking if you go, you could see a title change. So there is that certain level of unknown. Exactly. So I think the build has been fantastic for this show. I think there is a lot of intrigue going into, especially the World of Stardom. I'm sorry, Marigold. The Marigold World Championship match. And I think as well, even though you could argue that Nagisa Nozaki might not be the biggest draw, the match that she will have with Miko Ano is going to be very, very, very good. Wouldn't surprise me if we get some sort of surprise during this show. Whether that is building up to First Dream or whether that is building up to a Korakuen Hall show down the road, I don't know. I've just got a feeling with this being such a loaded card, they're going to drop something. I don't know what, and I'm probably wrong, as I've been many, many times.
Maybe, buddy. I'm just thinking about this to kind of wrap everything up in the beginning of the show. Maybe this is where they tease Mandy Rose versus my daughter or First Dream. Maybe that's what it is. You said Vegas. Maybe we don't wait till Vegas, buddy. Maybe. Yeah.
You can't wait on a money match, my man. Why not?
No, you got to pull the trigger, buddy. We got to strike while the iron's hot, brother. You know what I mean? Strike while the iron's hot, and the baseball jerseys are flowing. And speaking of baseball, it is hot because we do have the World Series as New York versus LA. So there you go, the Dodgers and the Yankees. So good time to really be pushing those baseball jerseys. Just saying.
Bear that in mind, Marigold. Right, Matt. It's time. It's time, my friend. It's time to gaze at Julia.
Unfortunately, we will not be gazing too long, as the segment on NXT wasn't the Iron Man match between Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. Regardless, not every week can be. Steph Acker does get her first win in her first match on NXT, and then is jumped by Roxanne Perez and one Cora Jade, only for Julia to come out in the reddest pants that anybody's ever worn. Maybe there's another Santa Claus reference. Regardless, she looked fantastic, as she always does, because Julie's just terrific. She comes in and makes the save as we were building up towards that Halloween Havoc tag match of Julie and Steph Acker taking on Cora Jade and one Roxanne Perez. And no, unfortunately, I know I made mention that there's a possibility I'd be going to Halloween Havoc, as it is in Hershey, Pennsylvania, about an hour and a half away from my house. Fortunately, I will not be going because I just came back from New York City Comic-Con. I will be away in, I think, 3 weeks for Catch Wrestling Camp. And the week after that, I am away. Unfortunately, Rob, I have another meeting in Texas that I'll be away for a couple of days. But I think it's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So we might be able to work around it. That's only 3 days. It's only 3. Look how upset he is. He's so upset. But I know it's going to make him feel better, folks. So that thing that I had everybody hanging on to at the beginning of the show.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
That's right. That's right. And I did put pictures on Twitter literally the day before. Now, I've been waiting on this
yes. No, I did.
June. Now, again, folks, I grew up in the 80s. WWF was my religion. The toys, the big LJN style rubber toys were like, that's what I wanted for my birthday. It's what I wanted for Christmas. I was an easy person to please. Just give me a comic book and something pro wrestling. So the one, Sin Bodhi, who does all of the figure work for one, Jake the Snake Roberts, had a commission up for a little bit. And again, he's a very busy man. So I think that took 4 or 5 months of, hey, send me a picture and I will do your favorite wrestler in the LJN style. So you're literally taking 80s Matt Turner, young boy Matt Turner and Kurt Matt Turner, and you're melding them together, because I got right here, folks, LJN style Mayu Iwatani. Not only is it Mayu Iwatani, championship Mayu Iwatani from 2019 and 2020, when she would wear this when she won the World of Stardom Championship. So yes, she is right next to my pop figure of one Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, keeping an eye on me, making sure that I'm on my best effort. So just to help Rob out. So there's another person looking at me. So championship LJN version of one Mayu Iwatani, and big thanks to one Sin Bodhi for doing that. An absolutely fantastic job. I literally opened that up right before I went to New York Comic-Con. So that might have been the coolest thing I had all week. But no, Kevin Smith giving me and you advice to keep going, keep being positive, is because he said the world needs more people like me and you, and we were doing God's work. So that meant the world to me. But yeah, my man, that's that, my man. Really, really, really great stuff. So again, this set is going to have to get bigger. I think I'm going to have to add another shelf or something in the next month or so, because there's a lot of stuff here. It's a lot of stuff here.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, what better way to end the podcast than with that? Thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully you enjoyed the fact that you can now see our faces. I look incredibly red. I assure you I am not that red in real life. I'm hoping it's just the resolution on this camera, which hopefully I'll be getting sorted. But yes, thank you very much. And hopefully you enjoyed the more YouTube content that we are going to provide. But yes, in the meantime, thank you so much for listening to our podcast or watching. We really do appreciate all of your support. You can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget as well, you can leave a comment or a review if you think we've earned it. It's a completely free way to help the podcast out. If you haven't already, consider signing up to our Patreon, patreon.com/the Stardom Cast, where you can get all of these episodes early and ad-free for as little as $1 a month. You can find us on social media at Marigold Podcast. You can find us on our website, www.thestardomcast.com, where you can get all of our show reports, news, and all of our statistics and history regarding both Marigold and Stardom. You can talk to me on Twitter at RealRobGoodwin. Matt Turner, where can they find you? And then sign us off, good sir.
Folks, questions, comments, suggestions, anything you need from me, a general chat. You want to talk about Ozzy Osbourne being a 2-time member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, you can get me on Matt Turner OF on the Instagram and or the Twitter. You want to shoot me an email, the email address is thestardomcast22@gmail.com. Folks, that's going to wrap it up for another fun-filled episode of the Marigold Standard. I am so excited to talk about this giant Korakuen Hall show with you all next week. Hopefully you come back and hang out with me and one passion package himself, the one and only one, Rob Goodwin. Folks, we greatly appreciate your support. Can't do it without you. Like I always say, just not my podcast. It's our podcast. We can all together, and everyone's different. Everyone's special.